Oh, here we go. Hello. Welcome to
Oh,
another Band Batch live stream. Today it's just Christina, Justin, and me, and we'll be talking about the Bad Batch Season 2, episodes 6 through 8. Three pretty juicy episodes. These are my favorite
y-
episodes of the season so far, actually.
yeah. These were different. It was these the last two were what was that? They both dropped at the same time, so
Hmm.
it was like a two episode arc, right?
Yeah.
And the first one was kind of a standalone, so we
Hmm.
think, unless we get to see our new Wookiee Jedi friend.
Well, I did see on Twitter somewhere that it was referred to as a mid season event, episodes 7 and 8. So I guess
Hmm.
that was a mid season event.
What
Wow,
is a
that's
mid
exciting.
season event?
Yeah.
Will that just mean two episodes in one?
Yeah, but like amid, I don't know. It's funny because that framing, I only saw it on social media, like from the official Star Wars Twitter account, I think. Um, yeah, but I mean, I think mid-season events like used to be a thing when, or they are a thing on cable TV. I think, right?
I could see
Yeah,
that.
they'd have special event, right? But
Yeah.
wasn't that always like? I feel like that was always like a longer episode, or like a special 1 hour episode that they would do, where this was kind of a 1 hour episode, but split into two
Yeah.
episodes. Do you think it would have those last two episodes would have been? Did they need to be separated into two episodes, or could it have existed as like a mid-season long episode?
I feel like it could have gone either way, but it seems like they're really into the two episode drops this season.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually watched them on two separate days.
Okay.
How did you manage that? Like,
I
what?
was
How did you feel in between the two?
fine, actually. I didn't feel like, oh, I'm on the, I, something, I didn't really feel a sense of needing to finish something. I mean, I don't know why though. I mean, in a way I did, but it didn't, I was okay with the space, put it that way. I mean, Andor certainly had like, we'd wait like a whole week until the resolution of plots. So, yeah, just waiting a day was fine for me, actually. But yeah, I really liked what was happening in episode 7 and 8. And also, I liked a lot from episode 6. Yeah. Hey, Jeannie.
Hi,
It
Jeannie.
is good to see you.
Yeah,
Um,
it didn't. Episode 7, I feel like it didn't end on a cliffhanger in the way that sometimes double episodes do, where the reason it's a double episode is because you would be just like, what? The main character just died? Like that kind of thing. So it was nicely continuous. It was very clear where the story was going to go. It wasn't like, wow, we have no idea what's going to happen next.
yeah, I
It was
agree.
quite known.
Yeah. What about you, Justin? How did you feel about it?
I don't know. I guess that it kind of goes back to my question. Had it been like one long episode, or even a week between, like an actual week between the episodes, like we've been kind of seeing with all the other ones? Like Christina just asked, "How did you manage to not watch the next episode immediately?" Because it just kind of went right into the next episode in a sense,
Yeah.
and it was there available for you. I guess it's an interesting like I don't know. I think I'm thinking too psychologically about this. Like, why drop two episodes? um, like that. If it's just could also be interesting to be separate those two plots. Like, have that anticipation for the next week, because usually these episodes can be very like, as we call them, like monster of the week, adventure of the
Yeah.
week kind of a thing. Like, here's a chance to like, oh, subvert that whole expectation, but instead we got two episodes
Mm-hmm.
and seven didn't have the Bad Batch in it at all. So I wonder if
That's
that was why
right.
they did it. Right? I wonder if that's why they did it. I remember joking with my dad.
Mm.
We watched these episodes, like he's in San Diego, but we like press play at the same time and then talk about it afterwards. And we were joking like, "Where is the Bad Batch in my Bad Batch show?" And then they appear and are a huge key plot for the next part. So I
That
wonder if that was
never
why
occurred to me.
we just went right into it.
I really the best parts of the show are the parts without the Bad Batch for me. So,
It felt
um,
like a Clone Wars episode in a way.
yeah,
Like,
I
you
guess
know,
it
just
did.
like we're kind of back to like hardcore politics and Senate hearings and votes and bills.
Well, I felt like a real sense of impending, like especially in episode 7, I really felt like worried for the people involved in the conspiracy, or the people,
Mm-hmm.
um, what's the slip, and the person he was talking to, and Chuchi. I was just like, oh my god,
Mm-hmm.
there's some,
Flipcade.
yeah, there's some real, there's some real stakes here. Um, yeah, it it felt like a plot, a mystery. It felt like something that I was very engaged with,
Mm.
and I really like Senator Chuchi, who showed up in the Clone Wars a couple times.
Yeah, I
That's
got so
right.
excited about Senator Chuchi. I had to Wikipedia her entire history and everything about. Uh, well, I mean, I purposely didn't read anything that could be a spoiler. Uh, like anything that happens after the current era. Uh, but yeah, 'cause she's fascinating. What is her species again?
She's a Pantoran,
She's a Pantoran, right?
yeah,
And
which
I
is
always
yeah, which is the blue
love the
skinned
Pantoran.
species that everyone would ask if Thrawn was a Pantoran, because they both
Mm,
have blue skins, but Chiss have also red eyes.
Ziggy
Thrawn.
has been kind of bad today, so
Thrawn.
it's probably gonna
That's
keep
okay.
being bad.
Yeah, so why don't we go kind of in order and talk about episode 6 and then episode 7 and then episode 8? And of course, people in chat can chime in if you have any favorite parts or, yeah, sounds or music or neither.
Or neither.
Um, I have something to play from episode 6, which was the Wookiee episode, and also
Mm-hmm.
the person. Wait, Gunji. Okay,
Yeah, Gunji.
yeah,
Gunji?
Gunji,
Gunji?
Gunji. Yeah, a Jedi Wookiee. Um, so we probably more than one of us probably have this example, but in different ways. Anyone know what that is or where that occurs?
It occurs in a lot of places, doesn't it?
It does.
It's
It
it's
does.
a little all over the place. I remember hearing it on like flutes and like
Mm.
that kind of a thing. Is there a particular place you're thinking of, or like the overall like village theme almost
I guess,
is kind of what I considered it.
yeah, I wasn't really thinking of a specific place, though I could name a specific place. But
Hmm.
I also just wrote it down in my general notes because it does appear to be like a new theme. I mean, it popped up at least 3 times, I think. So it
Mm-hmm.
felt like an actual theme. And I've tentatively named it sort of like a Wookiee unity.
Wookiee Unity,
Oh
the
yeah,
Wookiee
that's a
village.
good way
Yeah.
to describe it.
Where did it stick out most for you? Where that inspired you to like, yeah, okay, we're gonna. This is definitely a thing.
sort of, sort of toward the end ish,
Mm-hmm.
like 10 minutes before the end, I'd say. What about you? And I will say the time that it's stuck out to me, or I'm thinking specifically of like the strings instrumentation with like the pan flute type of instrument.
Right, right. Um, yeah, I mostly remember from the flutes, especially like when they're, is it when they're eating?
Mm-hmm.
It kind of has kind of lightly in the background, and it's got this kind of like harp thing,
Mm.
like arpeggiation happening at the same time. I mean, that's what, hi Ziggy. Ziggy's tail. Um, yeah, that's kind of where it stuck out. That's where I remember hearing it the most.
And Kashyyyk did have like some. Kashyyyk did have a lot of new music. Like it had
Yeah,
a ton
Hmm.
of it.
I
and
took a whole
a lot of
page
good.
notes.
You took a
Hmm.
page of notes.
I did. I mean, they're not bullet point notes. They're a bit wordy, but still.
No, this one I had the most notes on too.
Mm.
I felt like the other two episodes were like they had some good musical moments, but none of it like really stood out. Where this
Hmm.
one had all these like real like musical. This was a much more musical episode, like
It
Hmm.
was.
standing out, and like sound design based episode. I think they must have had a lot of fun writing the music for this episode. Um,
I agree.
the
Yeah.
Kleiner team.
Yeah, this one, the music in this episode, it like the episode made me feel like it was something nice to watch and listen to. Like it was more of an experience.
Hmm.
Um, and
Mm.
I liked that change of pace. We had like
Yeah, I think it could have been. I think that the reason that you might have had that sense of experience watching this episode is because of the way that the sound design, what that was describing the things that we're seeing, how well and integrally it connected to the score a lot of the time. Not all the
mm,
time, but there were so many moments where I was listening to something and I was like, is that a percussion instrument or am I hearing like
Mm,
the insect move? I honestly don't know. And so there was that sense, and I think because of the lush forest environment in Kashyyyk, there we also just had a lot to work with. Uh, yeah.
yeah, I
yeah.
think what you said about the blending of the sound is like the yeah, the blurring of the sound design and music was definitely apparent in this episode.
Yeah, I like genuinely want to ask you guys what you think the sound of what do we the Kinrath. I loved the Kinrath,
Mm.
the great bugs.
Ew.
Uh
They were weird. I didn't know how I felt
I
about them.
I wrote like a lot about the Kinrath because because when they first appear and there was like like a percussion sound used while they were vocalizing, and I was like, are they making a sound or are they just shrieking? And I
Mm,
used the word shriek because that was the word the closed captioning chose.
Oh.
Um, Closed captioning chose to say Kinrath shrieks. Um, and so yeah, I thought that was interesting, but then I decided no, that was literally just a percussion element that they specifically include when the Kinrath shrieks. Because then there were a
mm,
couple times of shrieking without the percussion that initially went with it. Um,
gotcha.
and I just really liked how like okay, so the Kinbreath voice, I really felt like it had this feeling of hearing the sound resonate through their body cavity. Like I could almost hear the sort of largeness of their core chest cavity and then kind of the sound going up like this,
Mm.
in the way that their shriek echoed within themselves as they produced the sound. The look of horror on Xanthe's face and the look
No,
of
no, no,
like
no. It's not a look of
slightly
horror.
masked horror
No,
on
no, it is actually not
Justin.
horror. It's more like I like your description. It's definitely not horror. I'm just trying to.
Yay.
What do you have a timestamp for that by any chance?
I think so. Definitely a little bit after 9:40.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So the first half.
Yeah, when
Okay.
the very first time that the Kinrath show up, when Gunji is like, no, they're friends. Like as long as we don't hurt them, they won't hurt us.
Mm.
That was like a really nice time to yeah, to hear that.
Oh, I hear it. I hear it.
Are you,
Where'd it go?
so
Go back.
the like, do you think that's the Kinrath? Because that also can, or the thing that sounds like very fast wings flapping.
No, they have a
Oh.
roar to them. They have a roar. There's a James. There's all these percussion instruments. Help me out here.
Yeah.
Uh, there's
I know, I had
there's
like a
like
specific question.
there's like bells, kind of like, or like a shh kind of going in the background. That's in rhythm. There's these like bongo.
Yeah, there's like digga 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 dung dung digga.
Kind of these tune skin
Hmm.
drums kind of a thing, or hand drums, but they sound like they're being played with like mallets or something like that, or like rubber, like not like wood necessarily.
Because of
And
the
then
precision.
Mm.
yeah, then the spider teapot elephants come down, and um they look like teapots to me.
Spider teapot
um
elephants, that's so good.
that's what they are.
I like
Yeah,
that.
they have like a roar-y guttural thing going on.
Yeah, and I think that what it comes from is that they're
Mm.
intoning a low pitch that's kind of like, what am I trying to say? So there's kind of like two pitches in the Kinrath roar, and there's, I think, a fundamental and a harmonic going on is what we're kind of hearing. And the
Mm.
fundamental is kind of like related to the size of their chest cavity, and the fundamental is what their vocal cords choose to intone, or like I feel like we're hearing both of those things, both of those parts of their body at the same time when they shriek.
I
Mm.
know what you mean. Yeah. The part, so you know that like siren-y sound, but it wasn't a siren, it was part of the score. That kind of was happening around the
Oh,
same time.
the
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Hold
I've
on, I
got
got that.
that's yeah,
I got that.
I also, that's what my audio tracks that I sent you are about that.
Oh, okay.
I got. Hold on, where was it?
Wait, Justin.
I picked that.
Let me get here.
Where is it? Not coming through.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So
Yeah.
but where's this part? Where's this part?
That's awesome. Okay, where is this? That's so
I
good,
want to hear that low one.
Justin.
Can you just play that low one more time? I really liked
Yeah.
that. It was funny. There's like a little slap.
What's so funny?
It just feels like slapstick humor. I like it.
Oh, it reminds me a little bit of the Gungan like horn thing.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I loved this thing. This moment that I wrote was when um the Wookiees appear, the tribe appears on their cats, their giant bat cat eared things, lion things. Uh, yeah, this horn was all. It first appears when Kashyyyk appears, right? They
Mhm.
come out of orbit, and it's just this big like ridiculous sound. I was like, oh my goodness, this is over the top. And then they kept using it. I was like, oh, okay, this is like the Kashyyyk horn. But it's like
Yeah, yeah.
it. It's funny though because in the when you first hear it, it's almost like this like pitched down Japanese flute shakuhachi sample kind of a thing, where it's got the like wind sounds to
Yeah.
it. And then when the Wookiees tribe appears, it almost becomes more horn like in a
Hmm.
weird. It's like there's like two versions
Like
of like the same sound
less breathy.
and
So you know
more
that
buzzy.
they sampled it then, and that they're putting like different audio effects on it,
That's what
essentially,
it feels
right?
like.
Like,
Possibly.
yeah.
That's
Um,
what it. It's cool. Or it's like a really affected like old '80s flute sample. Because like I swear it just sounds like it reminded me of the Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer. If you know that
Mm.
tune, it starts with a shakuhachi sample that he's playing on a EMI Fairlight, which was one of the first old school samplers out there, kind of a thing that you could like record something and then immediately put it to a key and
Mm.
change the notes by changing the speed and everything
Hmm.
like that. Herbie Hancock also played one,
What's it called?
which was it was a Fairlight, like a Fairlight, my Fairlight child or something like that.
Okay. In
I'll put a
I love
picture in
ladies'
the chat.
names.
okay, when we
CMI, sorry,
CMI,
CMI,
it's
not
called
EMI.
CMI.
Fairlight CMI. That's what it was called.
Oh, okay. Um, the emphasis when we arrive on Kashyyyk on blown things that are blown, I guess. Um, yeah, there's that, and then there's also the voices that come in because we do get like choir, or we get sort of
Yeah.
voiceless choir type of thing uh, on Kashyyyk. Uh, First, it's like just the ooh, it's more in the background, and then it's more so, I think, around the tree, like around the trees section, especially when they're looking up at the tall tree. It's like kind of a magical choir moment. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's the choir or the
Hmm.
flutes or the horn thing,
Or anything.
yeah, the horny thing, yeah, an emphasis on things that are blown or things that you use air for, I guess.
Yeah, because they kind of, and I've complained about this online or on this stream about I think during Andor and maybe a couple other episodes that we've seen, like the trope of forest slash jungle equals
Yeah,
drums, wooden flutes, and
yeah.
marimbas,
Hmm.
They
like
Hmm.
all
always
the
do
time.
it.
Yeah, they always do
Every
it. It
time.
doesn't matter what it is. It's like that's the go-to. And
Yeah.
I think my question was, is it because it's plausible because that's like the materials around the village and therefore this would make sense that they would be playing wooden instruments and hitting things and stuff like that, or has it also just become like this easy stereotypical trope of jungle slash forest equals tribal drums, even though this was called tribe, the whole episode was called tribe too. um it's just something that it's always I always it always sticks out to me.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's not like it wasn't diegetic.
No, it wasn't diegetic
Mm-mm.
It
either.
was part of the score, so which doesn't necessarily have to reflect like the materials of the like. It doesn't have to, it doesn't have to match other. Yeah, it doesn't have the
Right.
same rules as if it were supposed to be source music. But so it is like descriptive music. It is, yeah, it is descriptive music. Um, and when I think of forest jungle scenes in these shows, I'm also thinking of like people hiding or running or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And so for some reason I associate like for example running away from something with like the drums coming in. Um,
Hmm.
and so
That
yeah, I don't know if it's like there are so there I think the trope is working on so many in so many different directions from
mm-hmm.
it's coming from so many different angles that it's like is it because forest scenes always have some kind of running away from something, ducking behind tree leaves and whatever, and little critters and stuff that are emerging,
You
little
know though,
bugs and stuff, or yeah.
Yeah. Um,
let's compare this when they're in the forest to the one where they're on the treasure hunt and they're
Mm,
trying to get those Serenian cargo bays, and there was no fake indigenous ethnic music in that episode that I remember. I don't think we talked about that. Or maybe I'm wrong because I could just not remember, but I feel like we didn't have a conversation about things like that
which
during that episode.
Which episode again? Remind me.
Was that the first
Is that one
episode?
where they go to try to get Count Dooku's amazing war chest? Oh, I
Oh,
think it was
right,
called War
right.
Chest.
We didn't talk, and they distinctly like say, "This is our music. This is our culture. This is our stuff." We didn't hear any of their music, right?
Wait, are
Hmm.
you talking about the one where we meet the person and he gives her Omega the kaleidoscope?
Hmm.
Hmm.
That one's also in kind of forest jungle hiding vibes.
That is true.
Yeah, that's
Even
true.
it's interesting, and so and they don't, and there's no indication that Wookiees use instruments like these. We have never seen the Wookiees blow on horn type things. In fact, I also
Have we?
have we
I don't
seen
know.
the Wookiees use
Thinking of Ewoks.
instruments?
Oh
I'm
no.
thinking Ewoks.
Yeah,
Me
because
too.
And always
I feel like if I were a Wookiee, I would be more into singing than into playing an instrument. Like, why would you need like a trumpet thing when you're a Wookiee and you can go like and you can make Wookiee sounds? I
Well,
almost did it,
well,
but
I could
in the
see
Clone
Wookiee
Wars,
music.
the Wookiees do blow a big Alp horn type of thing.
oh,
Oh,
they do?
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So there is
Um.
some indication that they have such a thing.
Okay. I could
Okay,
see
it's called the
like.
Kashyyyk Clarion. It was
Ah.
created from a bantha horn.
Aha. Aha. Okay.
Now, whether that sounds like something,
Oh, yeah.
it's pretty. It's
That makes
cool.
sense. Okay.
Oh, it's
Maybe that's the
nice.
brrr sound
Yeah,
kind of a
maybe.
thing that they're imitating. Um,
Uh,
which is interesting. But then we have the flutes, which now
Yes.
I want to see a Wookiee with its like play a big flute or something like that.
Now
Um,
that I have
yeah.
questions about because Wookiees don't have, well,
well, they have
the
lips, right?
puppet. Well, it depends. I'm trying to think of animation now. From
Right.
what, at least as of the first three films, actually all of the films, the Wookiees don't have like fully articulating lips, so that's
Hmm.
why they can't like say Chewbacca. They everything comes from the throat.
Oh. Mm.
I
So
Like
wonder
a
if
how would
cat.
they have an embouchure?
cat. That's true. I wonder then if like Wookiee singing would be more like overtone singing in a way, like a group of them chant like low chanting that we hear
Mhm.
in like uh, um, Tibetan traditions
Hmm.
and stuff like that.
Mhm.
That'd be really interesting.
I
But
really
with
want to hear
but
this now.
yeah, I kind of want to hear a Wookiee choir. Um, um,
Yeah, I
but
bet
yeah, the
that.
flutes. There's so many flutes. And I was saying before the stream, my theory is that a lot of the flute we were hearing was a dizzy flute from China, because all
Mm.
the flute sounds in this reminded me. I don't know. I had just recently watched Mulan, and that flute was used a lot in it, kind of a thing. And it's also like it's wood or bamboo,
Hmm.
and you can do the whole like thing with it. Yeah,
Why
that's
is
fun.
that? Why can you do it more so than with a regular, like, not regular, but Western, like, metal flute?
It sounds cooler on in wood. I'll just, at least in my opinion, it just I can do that with a Western flute.
Hmm.
Um, it's not as it's not as woody. It's not as
No.
interesting and like timbrely rich, honestly.
Do you
In
think
the
it's the
same sense, but
material?
I think it's material. But you can also like with these like you can still get a pretty pure tone with it.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to have a very like piercing buzzy tone because there'll be like a type of tape, like a bamboo tape actually used, and this resonates, and gives it
Mm.
its like very very distinct sound. Um, this is Scotch tape, so it's not as good, but, as what you're actually supposed to use with it. But I don't know. It's like one of those like again forest flute tropes. I'm gonna start
Yeah.
writing down all the
Forest
flute
flute
trope
tropes.
things. It's the like super like vibrato,
Breathy.
breathy kind of a thing, and then you'll get the like these like little like
Are you
grace note
referring?
ornament
Yeah, I see what
kind
you're
of a
saying.
thing. So you
Yeah.
hear that a lot in this episode too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, I can't recall besides the melody that you played earlier, Xanthe, there being like any like major flute melody other than just like they'll do the like the ornament and just kind of hold.
Yeah, it was
Um,
like never really playing the full melody. It was like coming in as a supportive
right.
flavor or something like a
Supportive like
supportive,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, a
Yeah.
supportive
Yeah.
like a counter melody or something. In and out
Yeah.
though.
Yeah,
Kind
there
of thing.
were a lot of like repeated gestures. Like they weren't
Mhm.
long enough to be what we would normally call a theme, but they were definitely.
Is that your cat? Christina's muted themselves. Christina's
I know
muted
what
herself
happened.
because I think as a cat person, you may have heard it, Justin. I hear the sound of cat either
Re-
throwing up or spitting up a
oh
hairball or
no.
That's
something.
exactly what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. I
We
heard
just
that
had a
sound and I was
little
like, oh no.
projectile vomiting.
Oh no. Oh no.
uh,
Uh,
but it missed me and
that,
anything else that's too important. So we're good
oh
to
my
go.
gosh. Well,
Ziggy, it happened
you
to
know, if you need to
you.
take care of that, please, yeah. Okay, so the flute melody that is, or the flute, I guess not melody, the repeated gestures, I think is a good point.
Gesture.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
repeated gestures, and well, Justin, is in your experience, not I know that you're not like an expert on this particular instrument,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
the on the this Chinese flute, but would how would you say it's normally used, and how does it that differ between when it's being used in like Chinese music versus how it is used in like film music, like Western film music or stuff like this? Are there
Can I
differences?
add
Totally.
to that? Can I add to that
Yeah.
question so that you can answer both of our questions at the same time?
Sure.
Uh, which is when I watch Chinese dramas and things, is this the instrument that is often used as that magnificent flute sound that's like almost always the intro song and the outro song and like the love theme song? And
Totally.
does DZ flute sound for D Shao flutes? I tried to look up DZ flute and it looked like there was something called D Shou flutes, but then there was actually a person named D Shou, and then it said that was only invented in 2006, and so I was like, I can't tell if I'm finding the right instrument
How do you
that Justin's talking
a
about.
D? Oh, right.
ZHOU or AU, AU, not OU. Yeah, ZHAU,
Oh,
Shao.
CHAU flute. Um, I'm not sure about that one. I'm getting a lot of like silver flutes
Yeah, that's what I
as
got, and I thought
like
that's
a company.
weird.
It's like a company kind of a thing. Um, so with my limited experience in all this,
Mhm.
Christina's question, yes, this is definitely like that flute sound. There's a number of other Chinese flutes that are similar, but this is the one that has a very piercing kind of quality to it. There's another one that's also really popular that you hear. I think it's the um, it how do you describe it? It's a reed flute
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
a way, and instead of you can either blow it this way, is a bowie, bow. That's what it's called, bow.
So you mean it
B
has a
a
reed
w
in it,
u.
like a thin piece
Yeah.
of wood, kind of like a clarinet or an oboe?
Yep, exactly. And you'll actually see people it'll either be blown like this or actually
Mm-hmm. Like that guy
like
in
that,
Andor.
like the guy in Andor. I think we talked about this
Yeah.
exact flute. Yep, the bawu. Those are the two that you'll hear a lot, especially in movie scores, because they're so like distinct to other, and they sound, for lack of better words, very Chinese,
Mm-hmm.
musically, kind of a thing with those tone colors, and so how you see them a lot in Chinese music is a melodic instrument. it's very much playing the melody with everything else. It's not really this like gestural call in the wild kind of like in the distance boo, boo, kind of a thing in the background. It's very much like a melodic forefront instrument a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because
Or it'll
here
be
it's
like a
not.
solo instrument. Yeah, or it'll be like a solo instrument in like Chinese classical, kind of like mimicking the concerto, the Western concerto kind of a
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Well, they'll use yeah, it's not like a Western orchestra, but it's still kind of set up that way.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. So that's how you'll see it a lot.
So here, when the like in the Kashyyyk in the Wookiee
I
theme, when the strings are kind of going like, you know, and then the flute kind of comes in on just like the last note. It's like
Yep.
type of thing. So it's not really there the whole melody. It just kind of jumping in and out. Yeah, that's just I don't know
yeah.
how
Yeah.
common that. Yeah, I don't know how common that is, but it also strikes it. I'm curious how that was recorded, um, because it it would be easiest to record a live player on an instrument like that to get sort of
Hmm.
a shape that doesn't sound repetitive or without taking a lot of time to tweak parameters. And so I wonder if it's just easier to kind of just program in a couple isolated notes that hold,
Yeah, just get a couple samples like that, and then be able to kind of insert them, or just
yeah.
play over stuff. Yeah. No,
Or
I
depending on what
totally
kind
know
of
what you're
controller you
saying.
have, like maybe you
Yeah.
could, yeah, some controllers will yield a better result than others. So I don't really
Hmm.
know what tools the Kiners have there, but it's a cool
I
sample.
think I think being able to see the names of the audio files and the way that they're organized on the Kiner team would be really indicative of what their intentions are with this music. Like, do they have like a big file called like indigenous music?
You
And
mean
then
you mean like a
The
and
folder
then
of
folder.
their
right,
samples?
Oh my goodness.
yeah, yeah, or samples, or do they have like yeah, I just think that would be interesting. That would be very telling because it occurred to me that there's so many ways to name things. I also, as we were talking, I was Wikipediaing the Bau flute, and I do see the DZ flute. Yeah, it literally is just called the DZ flute, and it
Hmm.
looks to me like the difference. I liked the phrase that they used to describe that tape, that piece of tape. They specifically said a buzzing membrane,
Oh,
Yes, that's a
and
good
I
way to
love a
put it.
good
Yeah.
buzzing membrane. And then the thing about the Bao flute, and so the DZ flute was the one that you said that had the ability to be very piercing and do melodic
Hmm.
content. But I see that the Bao flute, like the example in Wikipedia, it specifically says a Bao in the key of F, which implies, which might be why it's not used so much for melodic content. Because did I break out for a
mm,
second?
no,
I
Because
think
if it's
so.
in a specific key, that means it's mostly just doing a like a harmonic thing,
that makes
like my
sense
slide
as well.
whistle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense
Which
as
there
well.
is a slide whistle. Can you guys guess when this slide whistle moment happened? I mean, I'm gonna call it. I mean, it was for sure the flute, but uh, there was a moment where they did the good old. Oh, wait, I have to get the right pitch. Okay, I didn't do a very good job with that at all.
That sounded like a tea kettle.
It did, didn't it? Ziggy hates the slide whistle. Um, yeah, I feel like I should just tell you where it is rather than have you guess because that was so poorly
And
rendered
it was in the
and it was
It was in the Wookiee episode.
yes. But it was, I think it was like, sometimes in Star Wars they use like really intense sounds like it was kind of like a
Oh, okay.
and they use it to heighten like really important things that are said. And that was said right when they said the trees are the owners of the planet and the Wookiees are like see themselves as the trees' allies.
Mm.
And then they kind of
Mm.
had that really kind of punctuated flute sound, but I loved that concept of the trees owning the planet and the Wookiees being their allies.
Yeah, I liked that too. There was definitely like an environmental bent to this episode.
Hmm.
It also occurs to me that the slide whistle kind of sound it. I don't know if it echoes or it sounds similar to the really high pitched voices. They were kind of they're wordless, so it's not like they're singing lyrics, but they're going like type of
Mm-hmm.
thing, but like an octave higher. It's like but super like not vibrato, just like a super high pure tone. Honestly, it sounded like samples as well, but um,
For
it
sure.
had an eerie type of yeah. It had quite an eerie sound to it, and it was when they're looking
Oh,
up at the tall tree, so it was like really high pitches, really high foliage, uh, angle going up. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I actually was thinking that so I did hear some moments where the um so my take on the thing that isn't the flute, the other one, I would call it a trumpet, a trompeta sound. And I think they did basically sample that and pitch it up really, really high for some of those moments. Uh,
Do you have
But I don't know.
wait? When do you think when would this be the trumpeta? Oh wait, let me
uh,
play. You sent me a
so
sample.
yeah,
Can I play that now?
so it's actually hilarious. As soon as I heard this, I was like, no, like that can't be. Like, do I have like did we like hit on the
Oh,
same?
sorry. They just started playing.
That's
And there.
Oh.
fine. Is that the same sound?
Oh
Because
man.
this is a widely available sound.
What
Wh-
is this sound?
what do you mean by widely available?
Well, so this is this
Wait,
is like a
let me
bit of
play it again. Let me play it again, but less
yeah, yeah.
loud. Okay, Christina sent me this to play. Oh wait, now I muted it because it was so loud before. Huh.
That's pretty damn close.
It is
If
pretty
So
not
damn
then
close.
I
if
just
not
texted you a picture
exactly.
of that
Oh,
instrument. Um,
that's what that was.
and so this instrument is so that recording is so I worked on a project with the where we were sponsored by the Ministry of Indigenous Cultures in Colombia, in Bogota. And this is an actual recording of the trompeta, which is a kind of an instrument that's frequently used in a variety of the indigenous cultures of kind of like the northern part of Colombia where the Sierra Nevada mountains are. And those cultures are still there, persisting and kind of maintaining autonomy from what I'll call like the colonized regions. Um, but point being, the yeah, so that is the trompeta, and that's an
How do
actual
you
recording of an instrument from the Museum of Natural History.
Oh my goodness.
And
How do
so
you
the
spell
group,
that?
the
Trompeta.
mhm,
I mean, that sounds very
it's
close.
so similar.
Like,
Uh,
yeah.
and you can hear an example. So basically, my audio team, like so me and two other people from CalArts, we worked on we did the sound for this audio project relating to indigenous Colombian music and uh, architecture. And so if you want to play the other track a little bit, not yet,
Okay.
because it's got a really long like so we went full into it's got bug sounds, it's got that whole ambient forest vibe, and
I'm
everything. But
excited.
this is a track, so this is like my one of the tracks that I composed for the piece called Desert Mirage.
Mm.
and basically sampled the same trumpet sound and put it with various audio effects and things like that. Uh, and so I thought it'd be interesting to hear how I took this original, extremely similar to what Star Wars probably used, sound and turned it into something slightly different. Uh,
Cool. I'm definitely going to play it right now,
yeah.
actually. And also the trompetta. Yeah. Um, yeah. What do you all think in the chat? Does that sound like what we hear in the Bad Batch? I'm going to have to go back and listen to the Bad Batch now. My ears are perked for that instrument. All right. So here is.
So that's a sampler. We just played it a little higher.
This is so cool.
It's an ambient track, so it's meant to make you tired and relaxed and feel like you're soothing in the desert.
This is really cool, Christina.
Yeah. That sound is actually a voice pitched down, like a soprano voice.
The high pitched one, the.
The oh.
Oh, the low one. Okay.
And the track goes on for 10 more minutes or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I don't know. I was playing the episode in the background of this to compare the horns, and I'm pretty convinced, Christina.
Like I
I'm
don't
pretty.
know how they have a different. It's almost like the same audio file. Like
If it's on it, you got it from the museum
from the
website?
Museum of Cultural and like from the main museum in the capital of Colombia, where if you wanted to hear some like Colombian indigenous instruments, that's where you would go to get the
Hmm,
samples from. And yeah,
interesting.
and there's also some other. There's like we've
Do you
got the
know if
flute,
it's
we've got
like,
some flutes and things.
do you know if it's like
No.
meant to be, it's probably Creative Commons and stuff. Or
I
does that exist?
actually don't think it's Creative Commons. I think you have to ask permission to use
Okay.
them, but I don't really know. And that also could have been that the group I was a part of was trying really hard to do as little cultural appropriation as possible, given the fact that it was a completely culturally appropriative project. Um, uh, just to drive that home less hard. But it was mostly Colombians. I was the only like non I was the only like non Colombian on the team. Uh,
What's
yeah.
what strikes me about the thing that you put together, or the like your composition, is the it sounds like engines revving up when it when that when that one sample is harmonized.
Yeah.
And it does bring to mind, this very common Star Wars sound design technique of harmonizing sounds for like speeders and
Hmm.
stuff. And it sounded so similar. It sounded so similar. And also, like at certain points, I could have thought like, oh, that people might call that a synth or something. But
Hmm.
yeah, everything is a synth, and synths are everything in a way. If you think of just sound, I mean, it's always cool when like acoustic instruments can do that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, sometimes it's just about like layering them or harmonizing them. Sometimes it's not like the sound itself that makes it sound like a synth. It's maybe the regularity or the space between the sounds, or exactness of tweaking things. I don't know. That was really cool.
I see
Yeah,
what you
and
mean
there's a lot
there.
of
That's a really good point. I like
Chuck says the Bad Batch should have used that composition over the end credits. Maybe
that.
Christina could have gotten some royalties if so.
Thank you, Chuck. And Jeannie for your compliment of Dr. Christina.
Yeah. So episode 6, I think I guess there was one other thing. We got this sort of, we had lots of action ostinato. What I just played was not
yeah,
extremely representative, but it was, there was a lot of dun 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 because of the action stuff happening, and the really zappy sounding like exiting hyperspace really stood
yeah.
out to me, and just yeah, there were some Indiana Jones. There was an Indiana Jones moment for me
Where was it for you? Because I have
at
an Indiana Jones
10:45.
moment. 10:40. Oh, okay. Mine's different.
But I had more than one. But the other one might be
Okay.
in another episode. Where was yours?
Mine was they basically lifted I mean, which I'm sure was already lifted 20 times before it, but Indiana Jones, the spider scene, Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark in the very beginning when he turns around, and he's got all these spiders on his back and stuff like that. The music, the John Williams music, which is it was
How does it go?
totally used at the very end of this episode when they're like capturing the Transdoshan and bringing him up. And they're like, "Oh, it's gonna, the kind of thing." It's straight up that music.
How does it
Maybe
go?
Xanthe, you can demonstrate this for us.
Oh, can
I'm
I?
pretty sure it's basically a combination of string pizzicatos and using your bow, the back of your bow, to go kind of a
Oh, like
thing.
Coleño?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
that's the spider music from Indiana Jones. It's just a
Oh,
bunch
I
of.
don't know. I don't know the spider music. Let me get my
It's
Bible.
very
I
short,
see
but
what you're saying.
and they do, if it helps, they do use it in oh, Xanthe's gone. I was gonna say they
Not
use it in
violin.
the Disneyland ride. They also use it in the Disneyland ride,
That sounds
which maybe
scary.
Xanthe will know that reference. Um, yep.
Do you have a timestamp?
It's at the end. I was also mentioning
I think it's at the end of 23,
Okay.
because the flamethrower starts at 23:15-ish,
Okay.
and he starts his
23. Yeah,
flamethrowing, and then he gets eaten.
he gets taken away. Yeah, literally 23.
Okay.
23 minutes in. I was saying it's also in the Indiana Jones ride at Disneyland. There's a part where you turn the corner and all you have is headlights and you're seeing like the bugs on the wall. Um,
Oh, that's interesting. Sounds sampled.
I'm sure.
It's like
Yeah.
it's actually not. I know I think you were thinking it might be like Coleño, like, but I think that would be too subtle. I think it's actually
It's
like
too
a lot more
subtle.
percussive.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Like,
but that's
yeah.
that's the sound. That's the sound that they use in Indiana
Yeah.
Jones as well. So where's your Indiana? What was the other Indiana Jones moment? There's so many Indiana. I'm gonna find one in every episode now. That's my
There was
my
one in
goal.
episode 7 or 8 too.
Oh, I need to watch the Indiana Jones movies again so that I can.
Oh, they're wild. I love them.
I mean, I've like seen them and I kind of remember the plot points and the because I'm just so much more of a I'm kind of more of a cinematography person when I watch stuff. That's like the first thing I pay attention to, and then there's other stuff. Of course, soundtrack, but more like the feeling of the soundtrack than the explicit content.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think it
yeah.
was okay. It was at 10:45. It was not exactly, but it's It was. Dee, 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 dee,
Oh, I hear it. Oh, it's totally
dee.
that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's not exactly the same. Like, what I'm thinking is dee, 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 or dee.
Yep.
I'm thinking of something slightly different, but
Bathroom.
just the movement of it, it's like this. It's like, oh, we'll just change a couple things. It's the same architecture, perhaps. Um, how many players did the
Oh.
LSO use for the indie spider plucking? That's a good question.
It must have been a number, right?
It could have been,
A whole,
yeah, maybe all of them.
probably all of them. It's very quick. It's a very quick moment, but it's very well done.
Yeah, because each
Um,
person could probably get like a couple good notes in, but with everyone doing it, like it sounds like an aleatory moment where everyone is doing that, but it's not necessarily super coordinated, perhaps. So if everyone
mhm.
kind of, popcorn, it's like popcorn. If everyone kind of does it at a different time, it kind of layers onto each other.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, it's not like
Yeah.
super loud, so it would be good if multiple people, many people. But I don't know for a fact if there's any Indiana Jones violinists, people who were there during the
Yeah.
recording sessions.
And from that exact moment that, so I just realized one of the things that I took notes on were when the soundtrack was really similar to the Bugs, and this is one of the moments where when those violin coleño pickings
The
are
pizzicato.
happening,
Yeah.
uh, when the Bugs slide down their what do you call a spider string? A spider web stuff. When they use their spider web
Yeah.
stuff to slide, it
Mm.
has a similar sound. It has this kind of horrifying metallic sound effect. Um, and so I just think it's interesting that they did a good job of putting things that are in a similar timbre and pitch area, so that the
Mm.
spider slide strings and the violin picking kind of often happen in similar times, at least for sure when they're eating the guy, because they all descend and eat the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, also what
Um,
strikes me is like the purring sound, like the sound. It's like
Yeah.
super low, but like almost it's kind of a satisfying sound. It's like low and
it
vibration.
is.
It's like a little vibration. It's like
It's nice.
yeah.
I
Well,
think
but yeah,
that
it's like the low
that's
juxtaposed with the
exactly, and I think that's why I thought of the pitch resonating in the bodies of the creatures because I like you the word purring because it is like how cats like it's sort of resonating in their body. It's not
mm-hmm.
just a vocal cord thing. Actually, Ziggy, she does not purr out loud. She only purrs in her body. So if you want to hear her purr, you have to put your ear up to her
Mm.
like torso to hear. It's
Oh
extremely
wow.
cute. Um, and it took me years to know that. I didn't notice until I was like,
Oh my.
"Oh, you do purr." Like, um,
It's not,
yeah.
and I'll note that like this is actually a very, it's like a good. I don't know if body horror is the right word, but it's like nice little horror section because the strings are also they're not just plucking. We also have like a layer of like something like I can't make it out exactly. Maybe when the soundtrack comes out, I'll be able to like. There is a bowed, smooth. It's not buzz. It's like it's smooth, so it's not percussive, but it is like I don't know what the word would be. It's because it's not buzzing. It's smooth, but it's like yeah, it's a steady stream of something. Very
Kind of like a mosquito buzz.
kind of yeah, less buzzy though, but yeah, it's sort of like scribbling with a really smooth pen, but you're still scribbling. But it's a smooth pen, but
Hmm.
you're making a straight line, but you're kind of making it slightly, like a point something on the Richter scale, some type. I don't know. Uh, yeah. X Files used similar spider plucking for the black oil.
Mm.
Oh, popcorn spiders.
Ooh.
I don't know.
We should make alternate titles for all of these episodes that reflect the sound and music. Popcorn spiders.
Is this one of the first times we get to hear a lightsaber
Yeah.
in Bad Batch so far this season?
This season? I think so. This season. I'm trying to think of last season we definitely got a lot from episode 1, but yeah, I think you might be right.
I think it's our first lightsaber sound, and we also got a good flamethrower sound
We
right before
did.
this for the Trandoshan who got eaten by the spiders. He's there. It's got a nice sound where it's kind of like on standby for a second, and then he like gears it up, and you can hear like the motor start, and I guess like the air flow through the machine, and then it's flamethrowing. But
It's true.
that was
It's
nice.
true.
Yeah.
I also wanted to note that Wrecker's Wookiee roar, I really liked that. There was a moment when
Yeah.
Wrecker joined the Wookiees in the Wookiee roar in battle, and I loved that. That he was like I felt like Wrecker was really at home with the Wookiees.
Hmm.
I have so many questions about the
He
Kashyyyk
drank the
language
liquid.
that will never be
Right.
answered.
Or Hunter's like, my Wookiee's a little rusty, but
Got
Gunji.
Shiri Wook.
But he said
His
Gunji.
name is Gunji. It's like Gunji's like, how did you get that? Or like Chewbacca out
Yeah.
of. Actually, my favorite part actually was when right after that moment, Xanthe he says something, and Gunji says like "Brr, brr, 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 brr," like really short, and then text like, it appears he's been on the run since the Order 66, and he's been on his own, and he's trying to make it like this long. This like you got all that. How did you? He
Actually,
said
I've
all
got to
that.
guess that
Okay.
sound for you.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay.
A Wookiee. I memorized a one of uh one of Gunji's phrases, and it's
Oh
another
no.
one where like try to guess what this means, and it's obviously like way many words, and it's gonna be I'm gonna say two sounds, and then but I'm just okay. Oh, oh. That's it.
Is
It
that
was.
I'm hungry?
He's talking to Omega,
Oh.
right? I'm just-
I don't know.
I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
The spiders are. It's when they first arrive on Kashyyyk, and the spider creature first arrives, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna shoot the spider creature," and Gunchi's like, "Oh, oh," and the translation is, "They will not attack unless we pose a threat."
Oh, now we know.
I have so many questions about the Kashyyyk language.
Well, some languages are more efficient than others in how
Totally.
many, and so I think yeah, Sri Rook must
But
be a
it
very efficient language.
but it's I guess so. But it's just funny that again we can get Gunji and names. Like their name would not sound like that can be
Mm.
translatable. I don't know. I just find that really interesting.
Yeah, it is
I
pretty.
mean, again, plot point. Who cares? It's Star
Yeah.
Wars, and that's just how things are. I
Totally.
mean, all everyone can speak to each other in their own native languages, and everyone understands each other, um, for the most part, right? Um,
Yeah.
everyone just speaks Huttese.
Let's move on to episode 7.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. This was the clone conspiracy, and so everyone think of a wild theory on behalf of James, who is our resident conspiracy theorist with Star
well,
Wars.
well, mine actually started out when we were introduced to our assassin for the first time, and I was like, that is so obviously not Crosshair. For a moment, like as a joke, I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
clearly
Hmm.
this is Crosshair. So that was a bit of a surprise for me. I'm gonna be honest. That when they pulled it off, it was another clone, and you're just like, oh, it's not Crosshair. I was like, this is clearly Crosshair because they wanted you to think that. It was like Tron Crosshair. You kind of had this Tron Daft Punk thing, helmet thing going on. Um, I don't know. I thought that was my conspiracy for a second that Crosshair was eliminating clones.
Oh, I've got a conspiracy.
Okay.
Okay, mine is that the clone that the unidentified clone, he seems to have similar programming to Crosshair's most recent programming. And I think that when they did Crosshair's most recent programming and he was just like really loyal
Mm.
and really like I'm a believer, I think that they like he's kind of more like a fanatic now. Crosshair's like new programmed personality. And so I think that this clone also has that same. They were like, oh, we like this. This is exactly what we're going for. We're going to use this like fanatic crosshair programming for our
Ooh.
next clone regimens. That's mine.
Also, ooh, here's one. Here's one. Um, his identification markers were erased, right? So I wonder if it was had something to do with like not by not in exchange for this kind of like hardcore loyalty, we can erase the fact that you're a clone because we're gonna phase you out, kind of a thing. Like you won't you'll be able to go
Hmm.
undetected or as a despite looking like one,
Mm.
you'll be able to technically be undetected. But it was really weird seeing all the clones in Imperial uniforms, and I was like,
Mm.
oh, okay, maybe that's why they're all kind of like faceless uniform characters in the background. They got assimilated into the Imperial group for a bit, before they completely phased them out.
This episode had, well, first, this had a lot of familiar themes. It had a lot of things that we've previously discussed on this show, like Rampart, like the noble
Mm-hmm.
clone. We even heard Palpatine's theme, the Emperor,
Yeah, at the
and they,
end
they
there.
brought back a vintage theme, and we got some new, we got some new stuff, and I think the new stuff was quite cool, if not a bit Andory. Um,
Absolutely.
Hmm.
yeah,
We
I
got
made a
a
note. Oh yeah,
go
I
ahead.
was
we
going to
got
ask you guys because I'm not great at identifying themes, but I
Mm-hmm.
noticed there was a really nice orchestral line at 7:25,
Mm-hmm.
and I wondered if that was a theme that one maybe like something you're talking about now, or
in episode 7.
Okay,
yes.
I'm listening
Oh
now.
yeah.
Part at 7:25. Oh. Words like that.
Hmm.
I didn't recognize it,
Where was this
but
again?
Nice.
but I agree. It was like it was like dee dee.
7:25.
Yeah.
Oh, 7:25.
It was like just a brief, for the scene transition, basically. Before Rampart is in the hallway talking to Masamita.
Yeah, it has that lush romantic string thing going on. It's just suddenly ba ba ba, which is that like the intervals just for
It
a
reminds me
second
of
from
Jupiter.
the from Gustav Holst's Jupiter.
Yeah.
Um, but
Or
of course
Bravehearty,
they're also
totally.
I mean they're basically just notes that are really frequently used, but still.
Yeah.
But still ba ba ba. And then
Yeah.
it, you know, did something
Yeah,
else.
that's like such a now listening to this again, I'm surprised I didn't write something there because like that's such like a theme kind of
Yeah.
moment,
Hmm.
kind of a thing. I
This
wonder if that
episode
has
had a
appeared
few of those
anywhere.
moments, or then this episode and the next episode had a few of those moments where I was like, "This is gonna be," but then since I didn't really hear them again, I didn't really linger
Yeah.
too much. Yeah, Bravehearty, Jupitery, and then it does get the music does die down a little bit, and then we do get the Rampart theme,
Hmm.
which to remind everyone, it's like
Weaselly
whole speed
little.
horner to it. Yes, indeed. Yeah. So the other one that we got a lot in this episode was the noble clone. I mean, these are names that I made up that don't. They're not like
Yeah.
The
no
clone
one needs to
theme.
say them with authority to people who are like, I don't know what the noble clone is. It's okay.
That's hilarious because
Personal
I
headcanon.
now that you're
I
saying
won't
that, I've
shame
never
anyone on your
known. I've
behalf.
always known it as a noble clone, and every time I look it up on YouTube, that's what I write, like the noble clone, and I can
Oh
never
my
find it.
gosh, that's like my
So,
personal.
wow, thanks. That makes sense now. I can never find it. It's just clone theme.
Oh my god.
I've literally been
Yes.
thinking it was called the
No, it's
noble
just
clone
like
this
my
whole time.
personal. That's hilarious. No, it's just my personal name for my own notes. But I like that I've infiltrated your mind like that.
Yep.
So yeah, which
Could I see that theme one more time? Because
yeah,
I have such poor theme memory skills compared to
I would look at the
these
second
two.
one especially. Do you want to sight sing it, Christina? That's a D. Yeah. Well, my handwriting
Yeah,
is a little. It's hard to
yeah,
see.
I'm doing very.
No, it's okay.
Oh
But
no. I also like don't sight sing much lately. Um, or mostly I like don't care about what pitches I'm singing much lately.
and we've been getting a lot of
Nice.
Noble Clone in these last two episodes, which makes sense
Noble
given what's been going on. Noble
Yes.
Clone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Noble clone. Hashtag noble clone. Um,
as well
yeah.
as
No.
no, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna agree with you, and then we get a. Well, I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about when we get to the next episode. Like this theme gets reworked into like the ending moment.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So a couple other pieces of, especially this one really recurring line that I was noticing is I think it was a little bit lower. No, it was high.
Mhm.
Over and over. It reminded me so much of like the Mon Mothma. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just that theme followed us around this whole episode and in the next episode too.
And the way that theme is composed is then like a little half step and then a jump down a minor third. Is that what's going on always, or no?
Yeah. Let me.
Do you have a good timestamp for an example of that one?
1050.
10:50.
And it's kind of on a.
Mm.
It's a sort of a plucky sound, like a piano, a synth type of thing. Here we go.
You're right.
Also strings, tremoloing.
Yeah, it's like almost like a harp.
There's like a pedal point, really. Yeah, it's not very loud. It's just, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah. Clone
This
Conspiracy 1 theme. Intrigue theme, by the way. Official.
official name. I'll shame anyone who doesn't use that wording.
Good.
The clone conspiracy thing. Yeah.
This episode, it was also, for me, it was really hard. I took very few notes on this episode, partially just because the drama and the information in the episode was so, I guess, like interesting that I almost didn't have the bandwidth to also pay attention as much to the music. Like, I had to make a point to be like, wait, I watched a whole scene just now and I only paid attention to what was going on. I didn't really pay attention to the music. And I just noticed that it was just very content rich.
It's nice when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. That was kind of my thing. I only noticed so many things in this episode and the next one. Mostly Palpatine's theme. I was like, yeah, because I like that theme.
Well said, Chuck.
I think that's basically like a circular melody. Aha.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah, you could hear the wheels
Close
turning.
to the close to the timestamp we're on at 9:40,
Mm-hmm.
I made a point to just say, to kind of just point out that there was a nice little like synth that kind of reminded me of like bowed harmonics on a violin.
Oh. 9:40, you say?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see if I have any notes on that. Oh, is it before like the militaristic kind of drums happen?
Yeah, it's that high pitch, like almost like
Yes.
squeaking metal.
Hmm.
Sounds like metal.
And I just thought it'd be, especially since that's just like an interesting, like that's a cool technique to maybe have on the show, just having the concept of the bowed harmonic. It's
It
might
was
be one
really
of
only
my
like
favorite
two
sounds.
notes, and it sounded very metallic.
Yeah. Any door
Yeah.
creaky.
I wonder how those were. They don't sound like strings, but they sound like a bowed something, a bowed piano almost,
I
or
see.
something.
Yeah. So
Both piano, both
almost
guitars,
anything
kind of a
could have a
thing.
harmonic.
Yeah. It when it's just like a couple notes like that, it gives me the feeling of like glinting, something glinting on metal, or like so like kind of like I think of pulling out a knife or a sword, and like the part where it's like I don't know, the part where you kind of scrape off a couple, yeah, like, yeah.
Shing.
And then you, yeah, a little bit, and then you kind of
Hmm.
see it like in the sunlight hitting the metal. It's like super shiny,
Oh, right,
shiny.
when the
Hmm.
light makes the sound on the metal. Right,
Yeah,
right, right. Yes. Ah, yes, as
Yeah.
light and metal does. Yes.
exactly. You know,
um, yeah, you could find
you
that
can try it
everywhere.
at home, and you'll
Try it
sure
at
enough you'll
home.
hear that
Yes.
sound.
Oh my goodness. Oh, movie and film sound design, animation sound
Yeah,
design. Very, very much a
unrealistic
staple.
expectations.
Unrealistic. Apparently, and I was reading also because I mean I don't personally own a sword and don't handle metal
I
swords very
want
often,
one.
but the whole shink kind of a thing as
Yeah.
they draw is very much an added sound in film too because like the scabbards are generally leather kind of a
Oh.
thing. They say,
Hmm.
and so you don't really get, you might get clink or something like that, but you're not getting like a kashing kind of thing. I remember reading that somewhere and very recently, and like, oh, you know what? That's a good point.
Reminds me of Klingon battle from Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Klingons are warriors, so metal scraping fits.
Mm,
The part about the
That's
metal,
funny.
though, is funny. It's a good point.
There were
Yeah.
some good metal
uh,
sounds. Didn't James say that one of his least favorite sounds is like nails on chalkboard metal type scrapes? And there were a lot of
yes,
moments
it's
for him to
markers,
be,
squeaky markers.
Squeaky
Yeah,
markers,
oh, squeaky
squeaky
markers.
markers.
That's what it is.
So
which
squeaky
sounds
markers.
different to me. It's
Which
squeaky
does
Yeah,
sound
markers are
different. That's a
wetter.
good
Yeah.
but I get it.
point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you mentioned Rampart's theme? I made a note that a bit after 1800,
Uh
I
huh.
was like, oh, there's a theme when Rampart and the assassin are talking. Is that Rampart's theme?
Well, Rampart's theme is actually right before the part that you just brought up, where it's
Oh, okay,
Rampart's
okay.
theme on cello around 9:40 or something,
Oh, like right there.
and then yeah, 9:35. But I'll check out
Mm.
18. Oh, okay. So 18,
Mm.
the part that starts at 18 is a new theme that I noted. um,
18. Okay.
yeah, and I call this one Conspiracy 2 Thumping. And it's the boom. Let me go down if you want. Okay. It's boom. No. It's it's a it's a very
Boom,
pingy synth.
boom,
Doom,
boom, boom,
doom,
boom, boom, boom.
doom, doom. Yeah. And then later it's just dun dee 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 do 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 do. Oops. Do 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 do. So like I think we have two different like conspiracy themes in this episode.
Yeah, and that one
Totally.
was used for the end credits.
Yeah.
Um, the
Yes.
end. This is
I
this
knew
is
you were gonna
another
mention it,
episode.
Justin.
Yeah, yes, I was, because we get some Andery techno going on. We
Yeah, we get
got
some like trip hop.
some trip hop kind of a thing. But it was funny too, because this is another episode where the maybe that's the theme. If the main Bad Batch is not in the episode, you don't get the Bad Batch theme.
Oh, I
Because the
never
only time
considered
we've done
that.
that is like
Oh,
Crosshair was the
clever.
other one, but he's not like part of the batch any the team. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
got that like hold on, where is it? That got the strings kind of doing its thing, and then that comes in, and then there's the string of the kind of
This is awesome.
yeah. That was the whole ending, right?
Something about that theme reminded me of the original Predator soundtrack.
Yeah, I can hear
I
that.
could see that.
I haven't seen Predator,
I could see that.
but it sounded predatorial for sure.
Predator.
And it was
Yeah.
another
You can
circular
dodge
theme.
Predator.
It was also
It's nice
circular.
and scary. Um,
Yeah, the interval.
yeah, that trip hop moment, like 26, is when I made a note. Yeah, 26
Mm.
minutes in is when I was like, yeah, that's nice.
It's got that drum beat, kind of big reverb drums in the background, kind of a thing, and then the those kinds of like little fast elements as everything's like, boop, 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 boop. It's like synth wavy almost. It's got
Yeah.
that
Yeah, I was gonna
80s
ask you
synth
what
thing kinda
genre you
going
would
on.
call that.
Yeah, I don't.
I mean,
almost
trip hop
industrial.
also
It's like orchestral
industrial,
and
yeah.
trip hoppy, industrially, orchestrally.
I really
Nice.
liked this episode. It felt very thrillery, spy stuff, and the it's interesting how, not to, like when we were talking about the jungle / forest music and the music associated often with those landscapes or those locations, the mystery spy thriller thing often does have synthy type of, it,
Oh yeah,
and perhaps this is why this
absolutely.
part reminds us of Andor, because there was a lot of like Mon Mothma's thing was also very associated with, oops, like it was like always when she was leaving Luthen's shop and it's like something is afoot, like intrigue, mystery. It's like someone's thinking of something, someone's worried, there's a conspiracy. And so, I don't think there was intentional, like, oh, let's try to match the spy nature of Andor. I don't think anything like that happened. I think it's like these two projects thought kind of had the same idea, a similar
Yeah,
idea.
and I know we've definitely talked about this stuff on previous streams. Like even in this next episode, when they're on the heist, and they're doing this stuff, you get that like, and some variation, some kind of constant 16th note thing with like either like little snappy percussions or like a bass line, kind of a thing going on. That's always like such a heisty action movie kind of a thing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It keeps the suspense up because it's fast moving, even if it's like not loud and in your face.
Yeah.
I love this Wookiees versus Predator comment.
It's imminent. I'm going to guess what Predator is. Is Predator a big jungle cat? No. Okay. Is Predator
Jungle. The first
Jungle?
movie,
Actually,
in a jungle.
there is a Star Wars species similar to Predator, isn't there? Kind of,
Yeah.
sort of.
Is there a name for the predator species? Like an official predator's name?
Is it literally about a predator? Like a King Kong type of thing?
There is a single predator.
Yautja.
Yes.
Yautja. Yucha.
Oh wow.
is the predator species. Yep.
Who
Or
composed
something
that
like that.
score?
Oh, that was hold on. The director just got Alan Silvestri. Alan
Oh,
Silvestri
okay, okay.
composed that score.
Nice.
Mm.
This is that was back in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was a who's the director? We were just
Sylvester.
having a
Oh,
conversation about them. Director was John McTiernan. That's who it is.
okay.
John McTiernan.
It sounds not familiar.
No, Predator. It's got Arnold Schwarzenegger in it. He's
That sounds
part of
familiar. He was
Commando
in Predator
Team,
and Terminator?
and oh yeah, he's in Predator. He was in everything. Um, yeah, no, he's on like a commando team, and they gotta go extract a person from a jungle that's been lost in a jungle, and then they're hunted by this invisible predator, um, and they have to survive.
Yeah.
And then the whole film like ends with this like horrifically 80s like post credit like, and here are the characters.
Like at the end of American Graffiti, like where are they now? Oh no, like that. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, it's like Arnold's like, like one of those things like this
That's funny.
this like action drama military macho movie, and then it like ends with this like,
It's
oh, it's
ridiculous.
great.
That
It's
sounds really
wonderful.
funny.
I think
Um,
Predator is most similar to the Nautolan species in the Star Wars universe.
Oh,
I,
okay.
I was just looking them up. I sent in. I don't know how to do many chat things, but I sent one in the guest
Predator
chat.
makes a clicking
Uh,
sound like the teapot spiders.
uh,
yeah,
yeah.
they do. They make all sorts
He's
of
got
Nautilin.
clicking
lots of
sounds.
Like Kit Fisto.
Right, right, right,
Kind
right.
of.
This one's
Because
not
he's got all the
smiling though.
head.
uh
Neither does Predator smile.
oh well, no, well Kit Fisto smiles.
Sorry.
It's
Oh yeah, Kit
funny.
is like.
Yeah, he has this like little smile on his face. It's really funny. Um, yeah. Anyway, okay. So I almost said Andor, but Bad Batch. Yeah. We had a droid R2C4. We had
Hmm?
this this bar. What's it called? 77. What's the bar called? I forgot. This new bar,
Oh
but we had
yeah.
diegetic music in it. Um,
Hmm?
at the
We
beginning of the
did
episode.
have some diegetic music.
Yeah. It's nice to be in a it's nice to be at a bar that's not Sid's for a little bit. Um, and
Oh, this diegetic music's hilarious. Hold on, what was it? Dum
It's kind of
bua, dum
industrial, right?
bua, dum
79.
bua, dum bua. That's all it's doing.
Yeah, boom,
Bua,
boom,
dum
boom, boom,
bua,
boom,
dum
boom,
bua.
which is
Yeah, I actually failed to understand what my notes on that meant this whole time until you said, I like, why did I wrote like whomp ba? Like, what? And
Yeah,
like, I wrote
no,
down
that's
bar,
the
but I was like, I don't know what that means.
what's funny is that like the music that's at all of these bars, it's obviously this is for a movie, so it's not very in a way, it's kind of not really that realistic to Earth bars, to Earth karaoke, whatever jukeboxes, because here, like, if you go into a bar in our galaxy, in our planet, you hear things that people are singing along to. It's like, it's not so perfectly background music, which all the, like, it's in Star Wars, in the Star Wars
that's
shows, it's background music. It's like, it does have like a beat to it, but it's like backing tracks. And then that's
it's
it.
always instrumental, isn't it?
It's
It's
always instrumental, almost
except for
always.
our like solo, Chicken in the
Yeah.
Pot.
Or unless,
Chicken in
but
the
that's a
Pot. That's what it's called.
performance.
Right. But it's still background
Yeah,
music.
unless
But
it's like
even
a.
like Max Rebo is like this like background
Yeah. And if you
thing,
do
you
get
know.
lyrics, it's like I'm thinking like Jabba Flow is definitely a thing in The Force Awakens, like, and in the bar in
Overflow.
Galaxy's Edge, Oga's Cantina, there are some
Yeah.
lyrics, but it's like kind of
Jedi rocks.
it's kind of like back see Jedi Rocks I consider also different because that's a performance. But like it's very laid back. It's like library music
Yeah.
for the Star Wars
Yeah.
world. It's like they've licensed a library of a genre, not like the
Yeah.
hits,
Uh,
not
Totally.
the hit singers.
Well, I'm curious if
I feel
well
like
now this is like deeper than we'll ever be able to like know from the story writers or the music perhaps, but I wonder if any of this music that we're hearing in like Sid's Jukebox or like this bar is like culturally species based. Like theoretically, like in world, like this could be the music of this particular species that's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that is their like cultural music or style, but we just don't know because
Yeah.
it's just exotic, weird sounding space music.
But it's also not exotic and weird in a way in the sense that it's all kind of similar. Like you
Yeah.
could put together all the source music from all of the animated shows and probably and even Andor to an extent and put it all in one big jukebox and it's all like just some kind of generic background music, which it has to be for this
Hmm.
for these shows because there's people talking over it. It like it serves a purpose in the show, but it just reveals that it's not like that it's tailored toward a
Yeah.
show where it has to be in the background. You like it sounds, it sounds like it's music that's not the score, but it also is very purposely elevator type music with a little
Yeah.
bit more of a beat. But I think like
yeah.
within the Star Wars universe, I can imagine that even music that would be licensed for a bar like this is it probably wouldn't even accurately like necessarily reflect like the music of a native culture or just like a species or a tribe or
Mm-hmm.
anything
Mm-hmm.
because it all seems like in universe pop like manufactured music to an extent so it might have flavors, it might have certain instruments. Again,
Yeah.
since we also don't get vocals, we don't have that much insight about like their size of their chest cavity and their mouth and their how big they are or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But
It sounds affordable.
it sounds affordable.
Uh,
It sounds affordable.
100%.
that is like,
It definitely
oh
sounds
my gosh,
affordable.
Oh, that's great.
if
Oh,
I
and
did
it,
a show and somebody came up and was like, "Yeah, it just sounded
it
really
sounded affordable.
affordable," I'd be like so devastated.
No,
Like,
but
yeah,
bars do
yeah,
this.
that's
Like I have some of my music that's like, micro licensed away just
Mhm.
for businesses or whatever to have on a lot big playlist of things that they have rights to play in the background. So
Mhm.
that's sounds like that's what's happening here. Is they have that library music, which these are the types of jobs that AI is taking over. By the way, these are the types of jobs that'll go
Mhm.
first. The ones making this kind of music, the background
yeah.
music where can't I'd really identify it to like, oh, that's definitely Cy Snoodles. I know her voice, like I know her style, whatever. It's just meant to be kind of back.
It
Yeah.
is. No, that's exactly what it is in world. It's an AI jukebox that you just like
I
you
like
click
it.
a button that says
Yeah, it
percussive,
probably is.
beat driven, slowish,
That's
no
exactly what it is.
melody, and you could just type that in. It's just gonna spit it out for you.
Yep.
I'm gonna make this
That is
jukebox.
that's what's happening. Totally is like that's that's what a lot of the droids in Star Wars are doing. They're coming up with. I feel like I've talked about this extensively on another show before, but yeah, no, I'm not going to go on a tangent about droids, but for sure that's happening. I like that interpretation is that the droids are just making. You can put in your parameters. Yeah.
I am
Any.
gonna be very slightly tangential to even what we were talking about just a second before,
Okay.
which is just so I really see a comparison in so like how does Star Wars do a music scene? How does Kill Bill do a music scene? And I want to specifically talk about I think it's in is it in Solo where we've got like that really fancy party that there's like a singer performing at
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's they're about like they're sneaking in they've got
Hmm.
the rhodanium or whatever it is and so that scene, the singer most certainly did blend into the background really nicely. Like there was nothing abrasive going on. It was very just nice music. Similarly, in Kill Bill, the scene where they're in the hotel and the singer is singing that
Yeah, they have the band right there.
song. and I just find that interesting because the setups for the scenes are almost exactly the same, but the sonic situation is vastly different. Uh, and I just saw that parallel and wanted to point it out.
Jeannie
Yeah, and
has
that's
a
like
good
a
point.
restaurant too, and they're just like blasting
Hmm.
punk music. You know, these punk covers, like folk punk covers.
Also, what time of day is it?
Mm,
Because
I don't know.
It was
sometimes
night.
bars will like there's like a certain point, even Tatum at CalArts, Tatum Shop Coffee House does this, where it's like at a certain, I don't know, it's like a 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. is, I swear, it's like the music goes is doubled in volume. It like completely different playlist. It becomes so unmanageably loud to work. It becomes like a club. Um, but anyway, in the Clone
I
Wars, 79s was always bopping, dancing, drunkenness, fun times, and I had to wonder if the music was so flat to reflect things after the Empire took over. I definitely
Mm.
know what you mean with the dancing, drunkenness, and fun times. I feel like the music was more upbeat. I don't know. Yeah, the music was definitely more upbeat there. I don't know if I would say that it was. I was still probably. I could still probably see how it was like AI generated music. I think it's still source music y in a background way, but it was certainly more upbeat, and the way that the clones act in response to the music also subconsciously impacts how I am perceiving the music. So I guess it's hard to make a clear comparison, but I think I can definitely see how the Empire taking over. I mean, clearly their moods, their like energy levels, they're not really as carefree. Sid's playlist and even Roland's music was affordable sounding, but not this dull. Yeah, this was pretty dull. Yeah, like even more so than usual.
Yeah.
Justin, are you thinking, or did you freeze like that? Oh, never mind.
I've both. I
Oh,
think
okay, Justin, you froze in a
I'm
really funny
freezing
position.
and going all over the place.
Um, yeah, so that was that music,
I'm very far.
I
and
have nothing else for this episode.
yeah, we can move on to the next episode, which starts on the Havoc Marauder, I believe, with Omega trying to meditate, something she learned from Gunji. Um, Rex
And
pops
right
up.
at only 1 minute in, we've got Gonky Honks,
Wait,
which
Gonky,
is
gonky
I
honks.
just that's a direct quote from the closed captioning. Um,
oh,
that's a
Gonky
droid
honks.
named Gonky, and he
oh, right,
honks,
Gonki.
and it honks, and it sounded like one of those duck calls slash those frogs where you go
You,
Oh, a weirdo.
a
They call him.
weirdo.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I forgot about
Yeah, so it's
Gonki.
No,
How could I forget about Gonki? Gonki was
go
instrumental
Gonky.
to the season one, and I
right?
feel like
Like I forgot about
Gonky's been
Gonky
so
until this moment
sidelined.
too.
This
Gonki
whole
has been
this
sidelined.
Gonky's been sidelined. He got too popular. They needed to focus more on. You know what's got sidelined this whole show? Hunter. I feel like Hunter's been sidelined for like
Mm.
more um, tech tech features. I feel like tech is shining a lot in this season, and Echo got this episode
His
big
last hurrah
time.
with the Bad Batch.
His last hurrah with the bad batches. We're splitting up the gang. I mean, yeah, okay, so we're
Yeah.
jumping farther
That's
into the
fine.
end here, but like
We can all talk. We can just talk about this whole episode.
he's leaving the gang, yo, and
Man.
I don't know how I
for
feel
a little,
about that.
I don't know how I feel about it either. Like, obviously, the music was trying to make us very, very sad about it, and then at the same time, you're like, but he's gone off to do good things, so it's like an omega sadness.
I mean, it's the reason I feel mixed about it. Well, first, I don't care that much because the Bad Batch themselves aren't that interesting, but like he'll be more interesting in his other adventures, I'm sure. but
Hmm.
it also feels like, yeah, he's going on to do something interesting, but also he's leaving the Bad Batch because he didn't fit in there.
Is that true?
Well,
Well, I guess it is because they always
maybe I'm
left him on
reading a
the
lot.
ship with Omega.
I mean, do I don't think he hasn't had very many moments.
No, you're right.
No, he hasn't had very many moments this season. Yeah, you're right. Maybe it's something that's been weighing on his mind. I mean, and even he's been like kind of mentioning like we need to go help people. We need to go help other clones instead of, and Hunter kind of wants to lay low. You know,
Yeah.
um, I find that good
And
that he's
didn't,
going with Rex.
yeah,
Go
for
with Rex.
sure.
I had to look up later. Like I had this moment because Rex appears in Rebels, right later
Hmm.
on that desert planet with the two other clone older, like they're old, they all got
Yeah.
beards and stuff like that.
Yeah, living
I
on the
had to like,
walker.
yeah, I had to look up who those clones were because I'm like, I wonder if one of them, if either of those other two clones were from the Bad Batch. And they're not. They're completely different names, like a Gunther and a Wilfred or something like that. Uh, something like that. But
What?
I thought that would, so we know Rex is going to be sticking around for a while,
Hmm.
um, kind of a thing. Is it bad? I don't know. Every time in this show that we have like a clone reveal themselves, it's supposed to be like this big moment, and then you have this like pause of like who which what? Oh, it's Rex. Yes,
Oh,
Rex.
I see.
Yes,
Like,
yeah, Rex. Or like earlier, like with the Crosshair
yes.
episodes, like boom, Cody. You're like, yeah, it's Cody.
It's so
Poor
true.
Wilco. you know, it's. I mean, yeah, I
That's
get
what
it. They're all
happens
clones,
when
but there's
you.
moments where you're just like,
No, for
yeah,
sure. It's
it's
another one of which
Cody.
one are you again?
it's Cody.
I
It's
can
Rex.
totally tell the difference to
And
just
they had
jog
to
my
like in
memory.
this one, in the last. I know we just skipped to this episode or in this episode, but the last one when Rex reveals himself, it's like Commander Rex. Like they have to like say it. They said it so like it's you, Commander Rex, and you're like, oh yeah, it's Commander Rex. Um,
That
like
was really
everyone knows who
funny.
Commander Rex is, but like like on site, um, there's got to be something else. I'm sure there's
I guess
very
feeling.
slight differences, but it's kind of funny.
I mean, even in the Clone Wars,
Like,
I got them mixed up all the time. I know they each have. I know they have separate, a few distinguishing features, and they have different ways that they personalize. I don't know their appearance and everything, but I'll continuously struggled with
yeah,
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
that might be
going.
the reason. That might be one of the reasons they did a show centering the Bad Batch because they all look different from each other.
right. And that was kind of funny too because I was watching this episode, and even thinking about okay, all the clones. I have trouble recognizing who's who until you like we establish and we can recognize by costume, kind of a thing for me. And then the Bad Batch all look distinct because they were designed differently, kind of a thing. But they're also like their own archetypes, which is fun. Like we have Rambo, we have
Who's
the geeky
Rambo?
one, we have good
Hunter.
Rambo, we have the geek, we have Juggernaut, we have
Who's Juggernaut?
Juggernaut's a wrecker, like
Oh,
big
okay. Uh
big
huh.
kind of not so smart but can lift things kind of dude, or at least perceived as not so smart. um we have this Weasley evil, slightly evil one, Crosshair, and then we have the droid, the robot, the Data, the tool, the
And we
Mm.
whatever
have the
you want to.
Momiji, which would be Omega.
Yeah, that's
Momiji
true.
is
And now we,
always like, and that's more of an anime thing. There's always like a really young boy who looks like a girl
yeah,
who like
the
is really
child, we have a
cute but has
child,
deep
yep.
emotions. Yeah.
Yeah, the Grogu,
The Grogu, the child, the
the wolf or whatever, the cub.
The
yeah,
babe.
the or yeah, exactly, exactly, um kind of a thing.
Yeah, I can see.
From
I can
that,
see how that would be like. That seems like, in theory, the Bad Batch because of the archetype representation. I can see how, on paper, that would be a really good basis for a show. But then it just turns out that that's not the most interesting part of the show. Because those parts feel very like stepping into all of the trope. Like the parts of, yeah, I find the Bad Batch
Yeah,
really hard to watch their dynamic because it feels so predictable.
yeah, they're designed to be the perfect team,
Yeah.
Yeah.
kind of a thing, and that's falling apart right now because they don't have that
And they don't
direction,
change.
and they don't
Yeah, they
change, and
don't
they
have a
realize,
lot of growth and change that they can do.
yeah. And what's interesting too is they're one of the few that are trying to, in a weird way, and are learning this. That was we see it's when Senator Chuchi goes out to the bar and says,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, we're gonna get you all this stuff," and they're like, "No, we want to be in the military. We were trained for this. This is how we think." It's like she doesn't even understand what they want. And it's interesting
Yeah,
with
and they're
what they
like, we're not
want.
programmed to think about our future like
Yeah,
that.
we're not trained to think
And
like
she's,
that. They said about those
Yeah.
things.
yeah, and she's like, well, you'd better start.
Yeah.
You know,
I
Senator
liked,
Chuchi is such a badass.
yeah,
yeah, she is. She's also equally, I get really frustrated with Senator Chuchi in the sense that I really like her, and because of that, I'm more able to become frustrated
Yep, I get it.
with. It's so frustrating in this, and this is just like a theme in all of the Star Wars stuff, is that people who were really good people think everyone else is a really good person, and
Mm.
like cause other people to die because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like
hmm
like Slip probably would not have died or been found if Senator Chuchi hadn't been like, "It's okay, I'm not gonna hurt you." And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, "No, no, no, there's probably an assassin following you who found me because you found me, and then you're trying to talk to me in the middle of a alley, like it's not actually safe." Like it's just very tough. And like, even though Senator Chuchi seems to be kind of like, we'll say, like more woke than so many other senators,
Mm-hmm.
it's like in Star Wars, it's just, and I guess it's frustrating because it's also how real life is like. How
Yeah.
hmm
someone who grows up
She's
in
idealist. She's in a
senator
bubble.
sector of society
Mm-hmm.
just genuinely does not know what it's like to be a clone on the run,
Yeah.
and
hmm
doesn't have the street smarts for it. Like
Yeah.
there's just not a like, if and there's no way to expect for them to have it, because she really is a good person. There's nothing that reflects badly on her in any of this. um and her just like going to Rampart and being like, "Hey Rampart, let's have a meeting and see if you can." And like, I'm gonna tell you that it's really sad that everyone on Camino died. Like, what? Let him
yeah,
know that you're onto him? Like, that's not
Yeah.
how it works.
Yeah.
Like, and the Emperor probably would have had a harder time taking over if people didn't think he was so great. Like I feel like people just assume. I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's just very frustrating watching these scenes where people assume, and that's the whole thing, truth and consequences. Like
Yeah.
sometimes doing what seems to be the right thing, if you're not looking at the bigger picture, doesn't end up working towards the good. It can be, and that's the whole Sith Lord thing. He's so good at predicting. Palpatine is just so skilled at predicting what good people are going to do.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like
absolutely.
everything was going toward, she was very focused on this idealistic goal, which was definitely a worthy thing that she was fighting for. And because of her lack of street smarts, as you put it, and just awareness of the actual danger that her constituents that people are facing, she was unable to protect them in the end, and was sort of putting targets on their backs. Um,
hmm
like when she was telling the former Kaminoan senator, like, you have to testify. Like, I was just like, no
No, you don't.
awareness of, no, like, because it's the right thing to do. But like, what about protect? Like, okay,
Like, do you
no,
think
these aren't just chess pieces. Like,
right.
each.
It shows her. She has probably like Christina mentioned. She's grown up in a way that she doesn't know the street smarts, and she's very politically driven, and like this is how things work, but
Yeah.
has never really like been on the outside of that. And it's really interesting that they paired Omega with her, two very naive characters
Mm-hmm.
wanting the good for things, even when she's like, because I was there and they destroyed my place and I'm angry about it. It's like, great, small
Yeah.
child. What do you want? Like, why? Like, who? Like, what do you? That's I kind of liked the Kaminoan senator in that sense of like, why do you care?
Yeah.
Like, what do you expect me to do? Kind of a
Yeah.
thing. And then
Hmm.
we convince her to do it because there's proof, not for the good of it, but because they're gonna get away with it. There's gonna be concrete proof, kind of a thing, which naturally comes at the last second. Sorry, hold on. AV tech rant for a second here. Magic of Star Wars technology. She can take the backup log,
I
the
know.
hard drive, take out the disk, put it into her pod, have it queued up to the exact part where the projection goes to. Just sorry. I've for the
Yeah,
just so the
that
chat
was.
knows, I've worked as a corporate AV technician for many years, and just to play a video sometimes,
Could take hours of prep.
it's insane. How people like how silly and like complicated it can get just to play a video, but to have it just like right here queued up from the backlog of the entire ship's I don't know. That was just good job, like yeah, great job tech being able to like extract that and know exact like line that up for Chuchi to like,
Those are the
because in
heroes of
real
this
life,
episode.
because in real life, had this been an actual corporate presentation, they would have we've got the thing. Oh, okay, hold on, that's not it.
Yeah.
Let me. Okay, hold on. Where's the file? We'd have this whole
Oh, this
beautifully
was working
awkward
yesterday.
moment.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this beautifully awkward moment of them
Yeah.
like everyone's like, what is going on? Are they gonna find it? Like, what's happening? But then they'll be like, oh, okay, well, you get the picture. We have it. We can go over this later. Um,
Yeah, that's very
which
true.
I
was
think
hilarious.
I think
Um,
that really ties back to that theme of like people from one sector of society and people from another sector of society. How often what I'll call higher ups or people who are often in positions to make requests of others
mhm.
don't realize that like when they say like, hey, I need a video of this for my presentation, that it actually takes a ton of work and
Yep.
tons of steps, and it's not a simple thing, even though when it's played it's so seamless and simple
Yep.
and it seems easy, but there's actually all of these other steps, and there's just almost like no, it's not that there's no need for them to know, but in their own lives, why would they know unless they happen to have had some job where they had to do that at some point?
Right. Right.
um, which most don't, like, and I think that's like one of kind of like one of the really unfortunate things about our society that that frustrates me a lot in like typical workplace environments, uh,
Oh,
is
absolutely.
just that complete disconnect of
Absolutely.
and lack of credit. I mean, of course, in
Yeah.
this case, obviously they're not going to credit tech, but like, but I think it's really frustrating when a higher up will be like, look at this PowerPoint presentation that I made that I had my department make that someone else totally made. Like, yes, I told them what to generally put in it, but like,
Look at what we
the reason
made.
it looks
No.
so good is because of the individual person that worked on it and the team that worked on it, and they're almost never or very rarely credited, I think. Did
Mhm.
you wake up? Do you feel better? Yes.
Yeah,
It's very true.
absolutely. With all
Yeah.
of it, it's interesting that whole a lot of these episodes definitely played a lot on current situations and current, depending, no matter where they, when they got made, technically, when these things are getting made is interesting. Like how parallel a lot of this is being. It's also like, watching the breakdown of a Senate in general and the things like that. I thought it was interesting with these episodes, how Palpatine as the Emperor is still kind of playing Senate.
Mm-hmm.
Like
He hasn't
they
quite given
need the
up the entire facade yet.
right, like they need the votes to get the thing that they're obviously gonna pass anyways, just to like make it look like it's like a legit thing, and then in the end it's like, yeah, no, we're gonna do it anyways, kind of a thing, and I have this power and that you're not gonna stop me. um Um, I thought that was an interesting thing. How quickly he throws Rampart under the bus, and it's just like this. Clearly, this is all true. Therefore, he will be punished. And then the Emperor speaks, and we get the beautiful. What was it? I don't have a. It's I have this terrible low string sample. Hold on, I'm gonna make Xanthe cringe. Yeah. Palpatine theme. Um, oh, and then like Palpatine's alarm. There are a lot of good alarms in this episode. I'm sorry, I'm jumping all over.
Yeah, no,
Really,
no,
there
there
A lot of
were.
were.
great
Yeah.
alarms. Hey,
I
like
also want to
Palpatine
point
has
out
this
how
like this like new challenger approaches. Bran, Bran, he just appears. It's kind of very very video game esque
Where was
thing.
that? The
it was
challenge.
so hilarious. Like who? It sounded like a safety alarm. Like be alerted. Like the
Yeah.
Was it
floor
the
is
one at
about to open. But
1610?
like who would be on the floor? Who would be on that floor? It's clearly for dramatic effect. It was like I just love how it's a fake functional alarm. It was like, oh yeah,
Mm.
don't be standing on the big hole where the emperor comes out. Like who would be standing on that? I think it's just really funny. Uh, uh, I
1610. Well, there's
also
one at
I don't
16.
know if now is. Oh yeah, keep going.
No,
Does
sorry.
any
I was gonna say where's the timestamp for the Emperor alarm?
probably like 22, 23. Like
Oh,
when he's coming up, you mean?
Yeah, right
Oh,
at 22.
22 exactly.
yeah.
Oh, 22 was the klaxon on the ships in the recording,
Oh, okay, yeah.
and
Yeah, it was that
then
one.
the
Yeah.
emperor comes out sometime between there and 24.
Yeah, and then there's all those klaxon alarms, and then there's these like longer. There's a longer one after the ship kind of like blip. The Venator does like
Yeah.
dismounts,
Isn't
kind of a thing.
he?
There's like two crazy alarms going off, and there's like a long slow one, that's a little bit different than our usual Imperial klaxon kind
Mm.
of a thing. Um, which also sound designer Justin should know these things. Klaxon is a type of alarm. Is I again just was always assuming this was like a Star Wars term, but no, it's very much a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like a klaxon style
Mm.
alarm. Silly Justin.
What I did notice. Oh,
Um,
It's electric
oh yeah,
one.
keep going. I was just gonna bring up more like sound designy type things, like kind of
yeah. I was
going
just gonna
through
say
like sounds of
I was
things.
just gonna say the Masamita's stamping of the thing. Boom. Like it had a very pitched I could almost imagine that that was a drum sample or something, not just to do the stamping of the
Mm.
like order. It's like boom, like it's very thick drum there.
Yeah, totally. There was
That
another really good
confused.
sound, like when the Venator turned on at 15 minutes 50 seconds.
Yeah.
The sound of the Venator coming on when they have to put the sound to it.
Where is
Listen
it?
to it real
15
quick.
minutes?
15:50.
Okay. Oh, the whirring?
Yeah, we just got all the different. We got and then
Yeah.
the kind of clickety clackities. There were some good sounds there. Very rich.
We've had that whirring sound before for
Roaring sound
something
comes.
Hmm.
Nice
Omega.
generator.
I
Low
want to address
rumble.
this comment about about Chuchi's accent. Chuck says, "Was Chuchi destined for clone sympathy because of her accent?" And the Masked Jedi says, "That confused me at first. I didn't remember Senator Chuchi from the Clone Wars. I had to go back and like I rewatched the Clone Wars episodes that she was in, and so at first I was like, is Omega in a disguise?" Because also Senator Chuchi is pretty
Yeah, I thought
small,
so too. I was
and
like,
so
how's
I
this gonna be
seriously
and her
thought.
Omega?
features, like her hair and stuff, like she kind of really reminded me of Omega,
Yeah,
but
I
Pantoran
think.
version. And of course, the accent was just like, oh,
And their
that,
eyeballs.
her eyeballs.
I
Yeah,
thought their
I was
eyes looked
confused at
really
first too.
similar.
Yeah, so you're not alone. I felt a little bit silly as time went on, but really the initial instinct was like, is this? And then I was like, maybe it's the same. Maybe the voice actor, maybe Michelle Ang did both of them, which I don't think she did. It's just, yeah,
Yeah.
you're not the only
Um,
ones.
so like after the Venator turns on, the I really liked so then at 1750 when the Venator falls, that was a nice sound. And I
Mm.
felt like, so I was like, okay, what like sounds might they have used to create this? And I feel like I heard like fireworks, like something like as if they were trying to imitate or actually using recordings of fireworks. And then it almost reminded me of like the lightsaber swish, but pitched down really far when the Venator
Hmm.
creaking and falling. Uh,
So the sound
I'm
design
hearing
there
those
actually
fireworks that you're talking
distracted me.
about.
It made me. I thought the sound design there sounded very video gamey, which it maybe was lifted from video game. It sounded, or maybe the. I understand that it was a holograph recording, so the fidelity of all of aspects of it, the sound, the visuals, would not 100% be there. But so what I'm trying to say is like the pew pew stuff sounded a bit weak, sounded a bit tinny, which would make sense, but it sounded perhaps also like it was coming from an unexpected place, like coming from behind me, like I was shooting it or something. I don't know, something about
mm.
it felt strange.
You're right. It was in like home theater surround sound, despite the fact that we're looking at it way over there. So it's
Yeah.
almost like it should have been sounding like it was far from the listener. However, it was immersively surround sound, like a video game would
Yeah,
be.
and the fact that it was like coming from around me made it less believable than if I heard something tinny coming from the center of the floor, then I think I would have been able to believe that. It was like a little too uncanny that where the sound was coming from.
Yeah, totally. Um,
But we don't know how the speaker setup is in the Senate Hall, but still, yeah, it just was unexpected. Is not wrong, just not what my eyes were expecting.
Yeah, there was another really good use, or well, there was actually a good use rather than in this case, that was a bad use of space. I felt like in the Senate chamber, there was a really nice thing right after that, at like 19 minutes,
Hmm.
when Rampart is making his speech, and we start off with Rampart talking, and and then we change this. So basically, there's two different ways that we hear Rampart's speech, and it follows the drama of from whose point of view we're watching from. And so at first, when we hear Rampart talking, it's kind of like from his point of view, and so there was like a lot of reverb, of
Hmm.
course, in the Senate chamber, and I feel like there was one echo very quickly after he talked, like stadium style, so like ba ba, right, really quick. But then the camera view shifts and the audio shifts along with it to be from Chuchi's point of view, and the reverb increased. And in addition, that echo became more spaced, so to reflect how the acoustics would work in that space. So instead of being talk talk, it was like talk talk, uh, of like I heard that space there. And then I was also wondering kind of, and Justin, maybe you could chime in here, especially about like how did they, I mean, it sounds like of course they increased the reverb to get the second point of view, but would that also be like an EQ shift that would happen to get it to go from how it
Yeah, there's a
originally
lot
sounded
of
at 19 to a little after?
There's
yeah, no,
also
almost
panning change.
yeah, there's definitely
Mm.
panning changes and that'll give us directional space. So the balance between your left ear and your right ear. Um, there's a technique in reverb called a pre-delay,
Hmm.
and what it is it's the delay of your dry voice and the first reflection
Hmm.
kind of a thing. So I have a feeling
First
that that's what they're
reflection.
spacing out a little bit. So it's kind of like
So that you
yeah,
hear more
it's
of your dryness before the reverb immediately jumps in.
exactly. So it's like delaying the verb. the reverb,
Yeah.
essentially, is what this pre-delay does. And you can set that by millisecond, and you can set that, like a long time or a short time kind of a thing. But that is probably, it sounds like that's what they're using to make that echo. There's like a little bit of that reflective echo as you would have in that space, but for the point of view, absolutely, because the sound is gonna, from Chuchi on the other side of the hall, you're gonna get more of that pre-delay, that delayed sound versus Rampart's dry sound. So it's almost a volume change too. Like more
Yeah.
reverb. Instead of like sending him into the reverb more, they're just like lowering his dry mix.
Yeah. Okay. I
Is
like how
what
you
they're doing.
described that. Yeah.
And you're saying there's less pre-delay when further away, or the opposite? I feel like the closer you
It,
are to the sound source, the more pre-delay.
yeah, it sounds like what they're doing here is when we're up close to Rampart kind of a thing, there's less kind of a
Mm-hmm.
thing, so that we're not, because we're carrying it from his point of view, so we're gonna hear more clearly from him, perhaps. I don't know. You know, it would make
Oh,
sense
oh,
that
I
there
see what you're
would be
saying.
more.
Yeah, okay. I'm trying to think of, because like just when I'm recording violin stuff or whatever, and I don't have an acoustically treated space, and I just, the last time I was mixing something, I was like putting reverb on things, but I didn't like how much my dry mix, like, I felt like it sounded so far away that it was just like I didn't want to sound too far away. And I can't remember whether I think turning up the pre-delay made it easier to hear the dryness first. It made it
Yeah,
easier
it
to hear what I was
absolutely
actually
does.
playing more, which I think I would associate with people sitting closer in the audience, perhaps, than people sitting at the back of the hall would maybe hear that really just pure. They maybe wouldn't. I don't know. Would they hear the first? Would they hear my
They would actually,
initial?
no. That's a great point. Yeah, if they were farther in the back of the hall, if that's the simulation, they would probably get your sound and the delayed sound a little bit quicker than what you would be hearing, kind of a thing,
Yeah,
because
like
the
I would
sound would
hear my dry.
travel.
Yeah, exactly. Like I
It would
wouldn't hear
hit
my own.
me, hit the wall, and then come back, kind of a thing for me. Versus you, it would have to come all the way, hit the wall. You hear your violin next to your ear, and then but that has to travel, hit the wall, and then come back to you,
Yeah,
kind of a
which
thing.
is
So you're
which
gonna
is easier for me. Obviously, I'm trying to simulate that in a recording environment, so I'm just not just playing and immediately hearing reverb, because I want to hear reverb later, like
right.
milliseconds later, so I can hear my dry sound first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
something
Totally.
about pre-delay.
Something about pre-delay,
Yeah.
and also like you'll get
Going.
that far away sound if you pan and volume shift, like more reverb, and with some panning, you'll sound like more in the distance. Sorry, Christina, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Um,
Oh yeah, no worries. I was just really excited about what I was going to bring up, so I like
We'll bring it
brought it
uh,
up
up
then.
really
bring it
too
up. I'm excited
excitedly.
too.
This is the moment that we the not. I mean, I maybe we're all excited about. I mean, when the Emperor comes out, basically, and from then on is like for me probably the most exciting part. The Emperor is just. I like to call him Palpy because I
Hmm.
do not dignify him with a real name because
For
just like
sure.
Palpy comes in, Palpy's alarm, Palpy's pod. So. Uh, it's just like Grandpappy Tarkin. I think the two of them are just really unfortunate people. But yeah, I love how reverb and delay can be used as a compositional tool, not just in terms of sound design, but a little bit later when Palpy's pod comes up, there are some notes that are played, and because there's so much reverb and delay going on, that a pitch that goes ba and then a pitch that goes ba are played consecutively and not even that close together. But because the delay is so long, you end up getting this super gritty half steps at the same time,
Hmm.
as if it was multiple notes being played at the same time, even though that's not what was actually happening. Um, and so I'm going to perform
Ooh.
that moment for you. And I was like wanting, I don't know how to make a good low drum sound. I tried so hard in my room to find anything, and the only thing that I could find that had a low enough sound. Let me just listen to it 1 second to make sure.
It's okay. James isn't here.
Okay, cool. So the only thing I could think of that makes a nice low sound like that is my cat's litter box. Which is right here. This it's not bad. Can you
Yeah,
hear it?
I can
Yeah,
hear
it's
it. Yeah.
low.
It's not nearly as bad as all the other ones that I tried. And actually, I'm using a drumstick, and it does not sound low if you let it. Um, I'm pointing out that in order to get the sound, I am like holding this and forcing it to stay on the box rather than allowing it to rebound. Because if it
Mm.
rebounds, the sound is a little wetter. You go, it's got that like dry thud
Hmm.
sound.
Like it
So
stops.
I just thought I'd. Yeah, yeah, totally. But we've got these nice vocals. Okay, so we've got like, oh wait, I forgot if the O's go like that or that. 1 second.
Ooh, yeah, they do. Yeah, yeah, they go after.
Yeah, totally. And what's nice about these oohs is that these baritone oohs, they're like an O, but very closed, so that they sound darker. Vocally speaking, you would call this like darkening the tone rather than going oh. You're going oh, like it
Mm.
sounds that. I think that's how they create that scare. I mean, I don't think it's real voices either, but you can do this vocally, but but it's kind of just that like oh, oh, or that was enough sharp, I think. Yeah, this isn't going as well as I hoped.
No, it's going great, Christina.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so and then they've got that nice choir at the top, straight toning, just very straight tone sound, very pure ooh,
Hmm.
but still, of course, with a synth. And that works nicely with that super closed oh, oh thing while Palpy's rising.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like that the really low stuff is symbolic of Palpy himself, and the really high straight tone in I don't know is more like invoking a sort of not ritual. It's so the low stuff is the stuff. It's the subject. It's Palpatine. The high stuff is like commentary on it, or it's like the mysticalness or the creepiness. The Yeah, there's something about the
I like that.
juxtaposition.
There's the object. Yeah, there's like the subject is the
Yeah, that's
oh,
Palps.
Hmm,
and
hmm.
the commentary on it is the.
Yeah.
And there was that moment I forgot to say when they switch from ah to e, and you hear the vowel change, which creates a lot of weird
Mm-hmm.
pitch things when you're going from.
Mm. Totally.
I'm like that.
Totally. Was it associated with uh, a lower pitch or a higher pitch? Because I know
When
E is sometimes invoked to like go higher, like I know you can go higher with an E, um, or
yeah,
it's easier to move air through your vocal.
it's it's actually a forward thing. So when you're doing the
Yeah, I
it
see. I
goes
see
more in
your
the
teeth. Like
nose.
your
Yeah,
tongue
so
is
it
going
like
forward on your palate.
so it
Hmm.
just changes the shape. Kind of like when a cat's meowing again, like it's all happening back here. Your lips are uninvolved.
Yeah, but the smaller that you're making, the narrower that you're making that space, I think the more efficiently the sound waves or whatever,
Yes.
the sound can be emitted
Hmm.
without like bouncing all over the place, which is why
I
like
think you
some
get.
performance or some mouth sounds would be harder to go higher and some mouth sounds hard to go lower,
Oh,
which is like
totally.
a
Yeah.
lower for lower, it's like a bigger, like, I don't know.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love having a resident singer here.
Yeah.
Chuck says the credited voice actor is Canadian for Chi-Chi, so it was a deliberate choice to put on a New Zealandish accent.
Interesting.
Stemming from the Clone Wars. Was there a different actor, by the way, for Bail Organa?
Oh,
Or is it the
Mm.
same one from the Clone Wars? He sounded a little bit different.
God, I do not know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Bail Organa's like he's so fascinating in comparison to Chuchi, especially because I noticed that he doesn't really take Chuchi into his confidence because we know that Bail is all up in all the revolutionary stuff.
Yeah.
He knows
Yeah, that's a good
everything that's
point.
going on. He is one of the main people fighting for the revolution, and I think he knows that Chuchi kind of can't be trusted just because of her lack of street smarts. And so instead of being able to say, like, hey, this is what you should do, oh my gosh, like, there's all these resources you could use, he has to just kind of hint at little things and let her grow because she has a lot more growth to do before she could be more helpful. I mean, can you imagine Clea from Andor like trying to deal with Chuchi and like Chuchi's like kind of naivety compared with Clea's like I'm gonna kill
Totally.
anyone who's naive.
Totally.
Yeah,
Yeah, Clay would be
they
like, I
yeah.
hope you like, I feel like feel like you're on my side, but I do not, yeah, you're not going to be able to handle this in the secretive way that needs to be handled. I think that's a great point about Bale because he was a little bit like he definitely helped her, but yeah, exactly what you said. Bale has street
Yeah.
smarts. Bale and Bria both like the fact that they were able to survive until their planet was blown up, but throughout this whole down period, after the Clone Wars, to be able to keep up appearances in the Senate and try their best. Jeannie thinks that the actor sounded a bit weird too. I'm glad
Hmm.
it's not just me. I'm looking him up now to see. Let's see, Clone Wars, Bale. There's a lot of actors, so I might not find it now. But yeah, I am curious about the actor. No, I guess it is the same one. You're right.
Clone Wars, it was
I swear.
Phil
Yeah,
Lamar.
Lamar. Also Kit Fisto and also Oren Free-Ta. That's interesting.
Hmm.
Huh.
But yeah, I just did feel like he sounded different for some reason. But also, I always wonder, like, voice actors who are so prolific, like going back to characters that they haven't done for a while, like the process of remembering what voice they did for that character must be, you know. Moss 3 taps of his staff as the pod emerges, kind of cues the drums. Yeah, Chuck. Yeah, it does. Yeah, to the point where probably I
Mm.
mixed up where his staff ended and the drums began. Yeah.
Yeah. It's good sound design to have
Mhm.
the sound have such a blend from the staff from the real drums. It's really nice.
I'm guessing the music was actually, I don't know. I mean, the animation must have been done to coordinate that. Whether the sound or the music came first, who knows? I'd guess music came second for some reason, but yeah.
I think so too.
Anyway, we did have the clone conspiracy theme in this episode too.
Mhm.
And if we just look at like musically what's happening, like half step, this is a whole step, this is a half step. I mean, these two note groups. And so, I would I would interpret that as being, in this tonal, in this key. And then kind of leaning into that leading tone at the end.
Yeah.
It's like lots of tension, but not so much tension that it's like, oh, it's multiple keys, or it's like it still sounds diatonic enough. Like it does still sound. It doesn't sound chromatic to me, even though there are chromatic notes. Like these are still in C minor. I mean, it is diatonic. It is diatonic. It's not chromatic, but yeah,
It's
playing with the
creeping on
tension.
the diatonic.
Yeah. Very much.
Yeah.
Very much so.
So yeah,
It feels
Did we
kind of
get
dark
the
wave to me.
did we get the conspiracy number 2 theme? Boom.
I don't think
Boom,
so,
boom, boom.
actually.
I think it was very much only in that other one, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's gonna be that's gonna be another. I mean, now that it's happened in 2 episodes, I hope that means it's gonna stick around.
Yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes a
Um,
theme is like a theme for 1 episode and then never comes back again, which is fine. But
It's true.
yeah,
Maybe the Kashyyyk horn will come back. Maybe Gunji's gonna appear at the end of one of these appear out of nowhere.
yeah, and we'll hear
One
the
of these episodes.
horn before Gunji appears, so we'll
And
know.
just appear.
We'll know what's gonna happen. Is the
But whether
Wookiees
or
are
not
gonna
it's
come
like
back?
if is it gonna be a diegetic horn and it's like, oh, the
Hmm.
Wookiees are here, or is it like musically gonna happen and the characters are just gonna like hear it? Like
Yeah.
the infamous Mandalorian "Kutu" in the distance, and you're like, oh look, it's the Mandalorian, as we can tell from the sound that the characters can't hear. um, oh, that's such a fun show.
Wait, is this for real,
Um,
Chuck, or is this a guess? Kiner saw, because it could go either way. Kiner saw the staff in the spotting session and said, "How about drums?" Which sounds extremely plausible.
yeah, why not?
Yeah. Well, anyway,
Anyways, and then
that's
we get
about.
this.
Oh, the
Huh?
glockenspiel. Oh, we did get Omega's theme. Yay! Finally.
Yeah, we got Omega's theme and the Noble Clone
Yeah.
all at
Yes.
the end wrapped in.
Yeah.
And then the Noble Clone theme is played on the Celeste kind of feel, and
I was,
it's like this like innocent young sad clone with like the low strings also doing the theme kind of a thing. Like Echo is like the father figure that Omega never had. I don't know. It's interesting
mm-hmm.
that Omega and Echo. I mean, she loves all of them. It's like she's got this weird friendship with Wrecker. Hunter's like her guardian. Echo's like her teacher. Tech is just there. you know. Um, feel like there's like no emotional bond with Tech because he has trouble expressing that at times, or it just
Mm-hmm.
doesn't. This is not his thing. Um, but yeah, I guess I got a little confused, like where this like Echo Omega. I mean, no, they've been interacting quite. I mean, they all have
Yeah.
been.
Yeah. I
But
know.
like,
Go.
I'm just it's just seemed like, oh no, Echo, and then like the Bad Batch is like, good luck, bye.
Yeah.
Tech is like, good luck. It's just like okay. um, soldiers they're used to it. People getting reassigned, and that's the last you see of them. Um, I don't know. It's interesting that Omega's the one kind of showing the most emotion over Echo leaving. Like even Echo's kind of like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is where I'm going.
Yeah, as soon as that scene starts, I felt like immediately that I was trying to figure out, is it a vibraphone or a Celeste, and I ended up deciding it was probably a vibraphone, but I really don't know.
Mm.
Um, Again, hashtag James. And then not that we're frustrated. It sounded frustrated, but I didn't mean it to be. But I felt like that was indicative or evocative of Omega's tears at first when the
Mm.
Celeste
Yeah.
first came in
It's the way the
there,
light
and it
hit
was
the
just like,
tears. I'm just kidding.
yeah.
Ka-shing.
And then yeah, and then it came back to actually play the theme, which I think was Omega's theme or the nice clone theme.
Well, it started with Omega's theme. and it was like slow and slow, a little bit wistful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. It was.
It was like, then it was like, which is the Noble Clone theme. So
Yeah.
it definitely
Hmm.
like switched kind of on a dime. It wasn't. I wouldn't say it was. It wasn't not a smooth transition, but it was like the seam was not covered at all in terms of when it's switching from one theme to another, which is fine. It was like the A part of Omega, and then the clone was just finished. I mean it was it was very much like, oh, Omega, Noble
Hmm.
Clone. I get what's happening. It's these two themes. I spot
It's
them.
these two themes.
There they
It's
are.
happening. Are they? There they are.
There they are.
And then it's
Jeannie
fun
just
because now I'm
pointed
listening to
out.
this. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying, Jeannie
Oh,
just
good
pointed
point.
out that that Celeste mystery instrument played the
Mm.
Noble Thone Cleam.
Mm.
It's called spoonerism when you switch the letters. When the Noble Clone theme at the beginning when Echo talks with Omega. Yeah,
Yeah, that's true.
Oh,
Here's the thing.
prepping.
Okay, here's where I feel like a bad fan a little bit. Is I remember that scene. We talked about it at the beginning of talking about this episode. Omega's meditating. Echo doesn't enjoy the solitude. Whatever. But I didn't. In my mind, I remember that as one of the clones talks to Omega, not like, wow, Echo and Omega are bonding. Like I guess it wasn't. It didn't stand out to me as being like an Echo Omega moment. It was Echo, and in retrospect, I see that. But yeah, it was like you could have put any. It didn't have to be Echo there probably. Like I do see how it makes sense that it was Echo, but it's
Yeah,
not really a
I feel
defined
like
like.
I would have more of a emotional reaction to it if it was like Wrecker, to be honest.
Yeah, me too.
Because we've
Mm.
seen them have such an intense friendship, whereas like Echo's been like perhaps a mentor, like get on with your studies, yes sir, kind of a moment. You're just like,
Totally.
yeah,
And
I
putting
don't
in a
know.
moment like that to give Echo another point is like not enough.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Um, Also, this ending music, Noble Clone theme, now starting to hear more, if not, it's already been established, how closely related it is to the Bad Batch theme in many ways. Because this
Mm.
ends in the same like interval. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. But it's
No,
like da da
keep
da
going.
da
Mhm.
da da. What is it? Da 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 da. Son da 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 da
Mm.
da. It's the same note. It does the same thing. Like at the very end. I'm not singing it right because I can't sing, but I swear it's the same interval and note, and you're like, oh, same key. That's nice. Good transition, guys. Um,
Mm. And that was apparent. I guess the similarity was highlighted by
like
the transition to the end credits. Is that
yeah, like yeah, it's the same note, so that it all like fits nicely together.
Chuck? Yeah.
Aw.
Totally.
A character's gonna die on Walking Dead when they get a huge backstory in their final episode. I haven't even seen Walking Dead, but that rings true for other shows as well. Yeah. I like I do, now that I'm kind of listening, I do like yeah, yeah, I hear what you're saying. It ended in the same key. Um, yeah, the Noble Clone with the Celeste, was it Celeste? Jeannie says
It feels
Celeste.
like Celeste.
Um, yeah, it gives it more of a not childish, but we're used to hearing it on like trumpets or something. Trumpets, horn, it's doesn't it feels now it feels more like something Omega herself can espouse for herself too,
Right.
not just like something for the grown-up clones, for the ramp for the soldiers and the whatever. Um, yeah,
Omega's
because
just less.
Omega's a noble clone.
Yeah, it's the naive clone
Yeah,
theme.
Omega's definitely a noble clone. A lot of the good things they've done because she wanted them to do them.
Very true.
That's true. It's like the
Yeah.
whole Gunji thing. Like they're like, no, we have to help him, and she runs, and Hunter has that like that Omega kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
moment.
Yeah, that's true. Ugh,
Always
always
helping
wants to
people.
help people. Fine.
Fine, just do
Totally.
it. One of these days, I just want him to grab her and just like, no, we're going, we're leaving. I'm not getting mixed up in this one.
Yeah. Uh, well,
Yeah,
the,
totally.
that's about all the notes I have for this set of
Yeah.
minutes, or these three episodes.
Yeah. These
Oh, except I
episodes.
will say the old
Hilariously,
Kemi Noan, Halle Bertoni, I just for I kind of wanted more of her on screen. I just like needed more time to understand her and her whole design. Some of her design was giving me Zero the Hut vibes. Maybe it was all the purple, maybe it was the accent and the sort of like side eyeing. But yeah.
I I hilariously have six more notes.
Okay.
Uh, they're little ones, but the first one is just going back to this whole like good people. I don't know, like people being like super naive. Like at the beginning when Rex is giving them their directive, and he's like, "It's a simple extraction," like from the an admiral's like worship, like like
Yeah.
like I'll just send you a safe landing zone on Coruscant. Like like there's nothing safe about it. I just think it's that I feel like it started the episode with that whole like dichotomy of like why do we think this is a simple safe mission? It is so not
Yeah.
a simple safe mission. Like it's going
True.
to the most dangerous place, to the most well guarded place, except for the Emperor's Temple in this. Yeah, it's just I thought that was really funny. I just like could
Yeah,
not stop
coming from
laughing at.
Rex, who's only gonna call them when he really, really needs them. Like, yeah,
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
that's a good point.
Um, yeah, the next funny, it's not funny, but I really enjoyed the so when they're in the service tunnels going in order to infiltrate the Venator, I enjoyed that big power reactor thing that they were climbing by, the electric column, uh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I really liked that, and it actually like kind of electrocuted Wrecker for a minute, and I I got thrown. I got really excited with that and took all these notes, and then I realized they weren't actually on the Venator yet, but I assumed they were already on the Venator in its power core area, and that we were hearing a Venator power core, but obviously it wasn't because they
Mm,
weren't on it yet. But given that I thought that, I did some research that those power cores are made from solar ionization reactors, which use hypermatter to create a miniature star inside the reactor chamber from which 7 ion engines drew power. So that's how the Venator would work, is that you'd
okay.
have a miniature star made of hypermatter generating power for 7 ion engines. And in addition to that, guess how many people it takes to crew a destroyer?
Um,
1,000.
1,000, I'll say too.
37,000 minimum for the basic crew, not including,
What?
37,000 people?
yeah, to crew a destroyer, not including like certain like specialists and things like that.
So
What?
like, so this just plays into the whole like again. How is the I mean, yeah, galaxy, but the Empire is huge with an obscene amount of people. Like,
Yeah,
that's wild. That's wild.
yeah. And so whenever you see like someone like a destroyer that takes any damage, thousands of
That's like
people are dying per little like laser turret that gets blown up, probably.
so.
Like,
Jeez.
Yes. So in Return of the Jedi, when we're having that massive battle at the very end, that's like about 1,000,000 people, if not 500,000 people, all
Hmm.
fighting with like the 15 X-wings. you know, on top of a swarm of TIE fighter. No, that's interesting.
For five
Yeah, and then that
seasons,
makes
Omega
each
was the
destroyer
guardian
a
piece.
home,
Oh
like a
yeah,
city.
no, yeah, it is. That's
Like,
I think one of the things that creeps me out the most about like how the Empire slash First Order, they live on cities, and it that really like hit home for me in the Last Jedi novelization when Captain Kennedy or something, one of the captains talks about like basically how much more efficient in a way it is to live on a star to live on a you know like a whatever that ship is. It's not a star destroyer, but it's like even bigger. Um, they have like their own ecosystem on there basically. You can grow, you make their food is made there. Like they don't have to go anywhere else.
So now I want to go back to Rise of Skywalker when Palpatine like releases like all of those star destroyers, and you just see like a sky full of them,
Yeah.
of like I want to count and like do some
Do some math.
horrific math.
The
Like, oh
math
my
might
god,
take you to dark places.
37,000 unseen. Figure that one out. Or they're all just like Palpatine clones. It's just endless Palpatine clones.
Some of them have a
They go back
skeleton
to
crew.
playing. Yeah.
yeah, in
Uh,
those first three books that used to be called the Thrawn books, I
Hmm.
don't like calling
Heir
them
to
the
the
Thrawn books
Empire.
now because I
Yeah, I
think
call it the
Zahn's
Heir to the
Thrawn
Empire
books.
trilogy.
Yeah, yeah, the Heir to the Empire trilogy. Um, they explain the way that Palpatine was able to crew all those destroyers as he had a secret clone base, and he just made a bunch of clones of.
Oh, like a
They weren't
bunch.
clones of the original clone. Yeah, yeah, and they were grown super fast, like 20 days to adulthood clones. So they're like not, they're glitchy
Yeah.
at best.
oh
Like
no.
strand casts,
Um,
or is that a new? That might be a newer term, but yeah,
Strand cast.
it's like another cloney term, but it's a newer one.
Interesting.
Like Snoke was a strand cast. Yeah,
Oh, I see.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but
That's
yeah,
hilarious.
a glitchy, yeah, 20 something days to adulthood.
Yeah, that's gross. Um, and then I just wanted to briefly mention I really enjoyed the like lead up to 1420 in this episode when so that's like oh I guess that's leading up to the assault on the Venator. But there's just like a really nice like trumpet solo
Oh,
in the
you know what?
orchestral moment
It kind of
and a
sounds.
big string melody
Yeah,
and a
totally.
big brass like the brass hitting on the
Hmm.
downbeat of every phrase, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice.
There's a little bit of a Jupiter moment at the beginning of it too.
Yeah, totally. And then they really built that moment up nicely, I thought, just speaking in terms of dramatic film scoring techniques, would be that like if you're going to have a complicated
Hmm.
orchestral section like that, like what do you do before to lead up to it? And what they did, I thought, was one of the most effective ways, which was just like build everything up to like a stacked non-harmonic chord where it's just like and then
Mm-hmm.
hard cut to silence and then you let the orchestral thing creep in. So people are kind of like tense and on edge, and then ready for something that's a little more meaty than.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I wouldn't say. What do you mean by non-harmonic?
By non-harmonic, I mean it's not like it's too dissonant to be a specific chord, but I could be wrong about that. To me, it just felt like I didn't want to use the word Penderecki because I feel like he gets way too much credit for like things that are lots of notes stacked on each other, but just that vibe of
Okay, I think. Are you talking about the part where it's like? It's kind of like, and then it kind of. Yeah. Okay. Like the climax is like around 1408.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hearing like a clear chord. I'm hearing clear pitches, and I'm hearing that as like an arrival point part of sorts. But because the line stops rising, the line stagnates there and just repeats there. It kind of just repeats that last chord a few times, And I think that's maybe like it's not it's like not moving it's the it's not functionally moving anymore in a
Mm.
way.
Yeah, the word static. That's
Yeah.
not functionally moving static. Totally. Static but intense.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
also just the loudness and then the bottom dropping under, as they would say in orchestra
Mm-hmm.
rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
I
agree
see.
that that's.
That was a
I
nice
agree
moment.
about the effectiveness.
And
Yeah.
then I think, I'm pretty sure this is my last one. I just wanted to point out that the Emperor's speech really seemed like a throwback to Scar and the hyenas in The Lion King, where he's saying, "A new era
Oh,
of the hyena, a new era of the whatever." I mean, I don't think he said the Republic, but
he said
yeah,
the hyena. No, yeah,
they were
I
like
feel that
almost
too.
the same.
That's funny. That's really
Heralded
funny.
by the stormtrooper.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think he did say that. Yeah.
Was yeah, I have to
Heralded
say
by
like
the
the
stormtrooper.
writing in this like the I wasn't expecting that sort of a bait and switch. I mean, I was from Palpatine, but I think it was a clever um a, I think it was I think it was cleverly written the way that that happened because we had time to see what Senator Chuchi was trying to work up to, so we did understand what exactly how twisted like Palpatine twisted it, and I think it was easy to understand that that was a twist, and that that was like a manipulation of. It was like such a gaslighting moment. It was so many things. It
Hmm.
was a really good like representation of something Palpatine does all the time, and it was nice to see like a concrete example of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's such a bad dude. Like,
He's pretty
not
bad.
showing up to any of the Senate hearing things until this moment. It's like he was waiting there in his little, well, he didn't have to because of the Force, right? The Force like told him when it was going to happen, but he was waiting for it and he planned it. And and he was like, "Okay, it's time to go to my little giant pod that's bigger than everyone else's." Um and ascends from my hole in the ground. Uh Eventually, I'd like, I don't know if y'all, if this has been talked about on the show, and I didn't succeed in doing any research on it, but I'd like to know like what's going on to make Palpy's voice sound the way it does. Like, I'm sure the voice actor has a lot to do with it, but I also get the feeling that that's not just voice acting alone. There must be some audio effects that make it sound so deeply unsettling. I could be wrong.
Do you mean in universe, or
I mean,
you mean
I'm not
like
sure
even the
if I
production of the
mean.
show?
I think I mean in the production of the show.
Oh, okay.
And his voice wasn't as intense in this as it was in the movies,
Hmm.
because I did listen to his voice from the movies and I thought, oh, okay, it is a little more. I mean, like he's still trying to be a little bit Palpatine-y, not so much Sith Lordy
Mm-hmm.
here, but you can still hear that deep scariness of the Sith Lord version of him
Yeah, which really
that
turned up in episode
people
3.
somehow. Yeah, I can't believe people are. They're just like, oh, he got burns on his face.
Yeah, and it just made him
It's
suddenly.
fine that he sounds.
Yeah, and dressed in this dark, evil, very sinister-looking robe. Like,
Yeah,
you think he could have picked another color, like an outfit, a little something different,
it's
but
so
no,
funny
it's
how
just.
sometimes we see things like right in front of us, but like it's like, well, but we don't want to be rude. Like it's almost like the people who get influenced by the empire immediately they're you have to be willing to drink that Kool-Aid to be able to just like
Yeah.
convince yourself that every aspect of everything is actually fine. It can actually be explained, and it might be in isolation. In maybe one or two of those could be explained, but it's like I don't know. There's sometimes the gut instinct of some of these. Well, the dark energy, the dark manipulation doesn't help. But yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of so many of the people in the Senate are just so infuriating. Just like it's infuriating. It's also just
It's
very real
infuriating.
world.
Like you can't like all these
It's
senators can't be like clearly there is something going on here.
Yeah.
Seriously, I cannot believe the extent to which they refer to the insurgents. Like, you mean like the people whose worlds weren't a part of the empire, and we're trying to colonize them right now, and we're just like, you're an insurgent.
Mm.
Like, like I just find that totally ridiculous. Like the fact that people in, but I guess that's because it's when things are so scary when you're in a society like that, and you know that there's only one correct word that you're allowed to use to describe something, you use that word unless you want to get killed, I guess.
Yeah.
Like that's the world they're living in. Um,
Jeannie has a good point. I think most senators know that there's an evil wizard in charge, but they are getting paid, so they just ignore it.
Yeah.
Yeah, or the way that I think people could hand wave that away is sort of like, well, I'm working within the system, and to be effective, I have to play the game, and yeah, there's all kinds of
Yep.
justifications for things. Yeah,
except Chuchi, who doesn't seem to know there's an evil wizard.
yeah.
Which is kind of to her credit, I think. Like somebody who,
Well,
like, it's frustrating to
I
see
think,
that level of naivety,
but I
but
think for
maybe
Chuchi
it's
having this
necessary.
moment happen to her, I think maybe, hopefully, that's a teaching moment
Mhm.
for her. I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then hopefully she doesn't get killed shortly after.
yeah. I hope she lives. Well, okay. The next episode's called The Crossing. And then the one after that is Retrieval and then Metamorphosis. So those are going to be the next three that we will talk about. And I believe these are just going to be regular one episode per week ones. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
So
we'll
none
be
of these
back.
are a mid season event. So, man, let's hope that, yeah, I have. I have high hopes. I have moderate high. I have moderate hopes. I don't have purely low hopes
Yeah.
because
So
I
March
think
4th is when we'll be.
where we are is a pretty interesting place at the moment.
Hmm.
So yeah.
It
Well,
is.
Well,
thanks for chatting with. Thanks for chatting about Bad Batch episode 6 through 8, and
always.
thank you to people in the chat. Sparty clones, yes, of course, Jeannie. Um, That's what Christina was thinking about. Thanks for joining us, and the next time that we will stream will be in 3 weeks after the next 3 episodes. So that's March 4th. Um, yeah, I'll schedule the event on YouTube so that you can see it and get notified. I know it's kind of weird when we skip so many weeks and then it's like, is it today or is it next week?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's March 4th, and so I'll make the YouTube event as soon as I can. With that, I think we'll end it for today. Yeah, have a good rest of your day, and